There is a moment, after the applause fades, after the congratulations have been said, after you are left alone, holding the very thing you bled for. It could be the keys to a new house, the signed contract for a promotion, the final notification that your biggest project is a success. You stand in the quiet aftermath of your victory, and you feel nothing, a hollow space, a profound and unsettling silence where the triumphant joy was supposed to be. The world told you this was the summit, this was the prize. But as you stand on the peak, you find the air is thin, and the view is strangely desolate. You have everything you thought you wanted. So why do you feel more empty than when you began? This feeling, this paradox of achievement, is not a personal failure. It is a symptom of the world we inhabit. A world the philosopher Byung-Chul Han called the achievement society. We have been taught to become entrepreneurs of the self, constantly optimizing, performing, and producing. Our value is measured not by who we are, but by what we accomplish. We relentlessly pursue an idealized version of ourselves, a phantom of success that is always just one more goal away. The result is not fulfillment, but a collective spiritual exhaustion, a burnout that goes bone deep. This hollowing out is the price we pay for severing the connection to our true self, the silent, observing consciousness that exists beneath the noise of ambition. But what if this emptiness is not the end of the story? What if it is not a void, but a sacred space, an invitation, a call to begin a different kind of journey, not outward into the world of more, but inward, into the forgotten landscapes of the soul? What if the answers we seek are not found in the next achievement, but in exploring the hidden dimensions of reality itself? A reality woven from invisible energy and vibration. A universe understood by ancient philosophies that mapped the human spirit long before we forgot how to read them. A world governed by subtle laws of attraction and intention. And a vast, mysterious inner cosmos that we explore every night in our dreams. This is the path to filling the void. Not with another trophy, but with truth. This is the journey back home, to the self you were, before the world told you who you should be. That hollow echo you hear in the halls of your own success. It has a name. It is the sound of a spirit starved in a world of abundance. The quiet hum of a soul running on empty. This feeling is not your private burden. It is the signature frequency of our age. It is the psychic landscape of what modern philosophers have termed the achievement society. A new kind of prison, one without walls, where each of us is simultaneously the inmate and the warden. To understand the cage we are in, we must first understand the one we left behind. For generations, society was structured around discipline. This was a world of prohibitions, of boundaries, of external forces, telling you what you could and could not do. The factory, the prison, the hospital, the school. These were institutions with visible walls and clear rules. Systems of power that pressed upon you from the outside. The dominant command was, you should not. This created a society of obedience, but also a clear enemy to push against. There was a defined other, an external authority that one could resist, or blame, or defy. Your suffering, in many ways, was legible. It came from a force that was not you. But that world has faded. The visible walls have crumbled. And we have been handed a new, more seductive, and far more dangerous mantra. You can be anything you want to be. You can achieve your dreams. You can work from anywhere. Start your own business. Build your own brand. Become the master of your own destiny. On the surface, this is the language of liberation. But listen closer. Listen to the subtle tyranny humming beneath the promise. The declaration that you can quickly becomes an unspoken imperative that you must. If you can do anything, then any failure to do so is no longer the fault of an oppressive system. It is your personal failure. The pressure is no longer external. It has been internalized. We have swallowed the warden. We have become the taskmasters of our own souls, driving ourselves with a relentless whip of positivity and potential. We are no longer human beings, but human projects. Our lives have become a startup, and the self is the product we must endlessly develop, market, and optimize. This gives birth to the most demanding ghost we will ever face: the ideal self. This ideal self is a phantom assembled from the highlight reels of others, a composite of impossible standards. It is always productive, perpetually positive, effortlessly creative, and socially graceful. It wakes at dawn for meditation and green juice. It closes million-dollar deals before lunch. It maintains a perfect body, a thriving social life, and a curated online presence that radiates authentic, yet flawless success. This ideal self never feels envy, or despair, or profound, soul-crushing fatigue. It is a fiction, a god we have created in our own image. And then we spend our entire lives feeling inadequate for not being it. We are locked in a permanent state of becoming, with no permission to simply be. And so, every achievement, no matter how significant, is instantly rendered insufficient. The moment a goal is reached, the ideal self is already pointing to the next, higher peak. The promotion is great, but why aren't you a vice president? The book is published, but it isn't a bestseller. The company is profitable, but it hasn't changed the world. Success, in this framework, is not a destination for rest and satisfaction. It is merely a brief, unsatisfying pause in a marathon with no finish line. The hollowness you feel is the logical conclusion of this race. It is the realization, deep in your bones, that you have been chasing a horizon, and no matter how fast you run, it will always recede. This relentless, self-imposed pressure culminates in the defining malady of our time: burnout. And we must be clear. Burnout is not simply a synonym for being tired. It is not the noble exhaustion that comes after a day of meaningful labor. Burnout is a spiritual crisis. It is the collapse of the human soul under the weight of its own ambition. It is the dark consequence of the self becoming an instrument of its own exploitation. When you are both the master and the slave, there is no escape. The slave cannot revolt, and the master will never show mercy, because they are one and the same. Burnout is the soul going on strike. It is the final, desperate act of a self that can no longer sustain the performance, that can no longer generate the energy required to uphold the fiction of the ideal self. It is a state of profound psychic exhaustion, a quiet implosion where the very will to do evaporates, leaving behind a gray, featureless landscape of apathy. It's the feeling of being a ghost in your own life, moving through the motions without any connection to them, because the inner engine has finally and completely ceased. And this is where we find ourselves, back in the silent hall of success, staring at the trophy, feeling the emptiness, but now we can see it with new eyes. That emptiness is not a void. It is not an absence. It is a presence. It is the faint, almost imperceptible whisper of the one thing that has been suffocated by the noise of your striving. It is the true self. This is the part of you that exists before the titles, before the accolades, before the endless lists of things to do. The true self is the silent, observing consciousness that has been watching this whole frantic performance. It does not care about your productivity metrics or your social capital. Its currency is not achievement, but awareness. Its desire is not to do, but to be. The emptiness you feel is a message, a distress signal from this buried part of you. It is a profound and merciful grace, because it is the one feeling that the ideal self cannot co-opt or turn into a project. The emptiness is the crack in the facade of the achievement society. It is the evidence that the path you are on, the path of endless external validation, is a barren one. It is a sacred ache, a holy longing, inviting you to stop running, to turn around, and to begin the real journey. The journey not to the next peak, but into the vast, silent, and luminous landscape of your own being. Recognizing this echo, feeling its weight, and honoring its message is the first and most courageous step toward freedom. It is the moment you realize the prison has no bars, and you have been holding the key all along. To begin this journey, we must first dare to question the very ground beneath our feet, the solidity of the world we take for granted. We have diagnosed the emptiness of the achievement society. We have heard the faint call of a deeper self. But what is this self? And what is the nature of the reality it inhabits? We have been taught to trust our five senses above all else, to believe that what is real is what we can see, touch, hear, taste, and smell. Our world is a world of things, of objects, of solid matter. A chair is a chair. A body is a body. The universe is a vast, cold, silent machine made of rock and gas and physical law. This is the foundational story of our modern world. But what if this story, while useful, is radically incomplete? What if it is like describing an ocean by only studying a single drop of water, ignoring the currents, the tides, and the vast, interconnected ecosystem thriving in its depths? What if the most real thing about you and about everything is the part you cannot see? For centuries, this was the domain of mystics and seers, who spoke in poems and parables about a world of spirit, an unseen life force that animates all things. And for centuries, mainstream science dismissed this as fantasy. But then, a strange thing happened. As science peered deeper and deeper into the heart of matter, as it broke the atom apart into smaller and smaller pieces, its language began to sound less like mechanics and more like magic. It discovered that at the subatomic level, things ceased to be things at all. An atom, which we imagine as a tiny solar system of solid particles, is in fact over 99.99% empty space. And the particles themselves, the electrons and quarks, are not solid little marbles. They are more like clouds of probability, shimmering fields of potential, vibrating notes in a cosmic symphony. The solidity we experience is an illusion, a magnificent and convincing illusion, but an illusion nonetheless. The chair you are sitting on is not truly solid. It is a vast collection of energy fields vibrating at a frequency so dense, so slow, that your senses interpret it as a solid object. Your hand does not pass through it for the same reason one radio wave can't pass through another if they are on the same frequency. Their energy fields repel each other. Think of it like this. Reality is a grand cinematic projection. What we see on the screen, the world of people, and trees, and buildings, seems real and solid, but it is a projection from a source, a stream of light and information. The world we perceive with our five senses is the screen. The source, the projector, is a deeper dimension of pure energy and frequency. Everything you see, everything you are, is a pattern of energy, a complex dance of vibrations. The rock is a slow Dense vibration. The light is a fast, subtle vibration. A thought is a fine, high-frequency vibration. The entire universe, from the silent spinning of a galaxy to the frantic firing of your own neurons, is nothing but energy in various states of motion and density. There are no separate things. There is only one infinite ocean of energy. And what we perceive as objects are simply temporary whirlpools, waves, and ripples on its surface. Now, take this staggering truth and apply it directly to yourself. You are not excluded from this universal law. You are not a machine made of flesh and bone that happens to be alive. You are a luminous field of energy. You are a resonant being of light and information that has temporarily taken on the form of a human body. This is not poetry. It is the next frontier of biology. Scientists can now measure the subtle biomagnetic field that surrounds and permeates your physical body. A field, often called the aura or the biofield. This field is a complex, shimmering web of energy, a living blueprint that contains the information for your physical form. Your physical body is like a garden, but your energy field is the soil, the weather, and the gardener all in one. Health is not just the absence of disease in the physical machine. It is a state of harmony, coherence, and high vibration in your energy field. Sickness, often, is a dissonance, a blockage, a low-frequency pattern in your energy field that, if left unresolved, eventually manifests in the physical body. This changes everything. It means you are not a body that has an energy field. You are a primary energy field that is creating and experiencing a physical body. You are infinitely more vast, more powerful, and more mysterious than you have ever been led to believe. So, if we are beings of energy, if we live in an ocean of frequency, what is the language of this unseen architecture? How do we read its messages? The answer is something you experience every moment of every day. Emotion. That word itself is a clue. Emotion. Energy in motion. Your feelings are not just abstract psychological events happening inside your head. They are the felt experience of your own vibrational state. They are your most direct, immediate, and accurate way of perceiving your own frequency. Think of the physical sensations associated with different emotions. Fear, shame, guilt, and anger feel heavy, dense, constricting. Your body tightens. Your breathing becomes shallow. Your focus narrows. This is the feeling of a low, dissonant fréquence. It is energy contracting, closing down. Now consider the feelings of love, joy, gratitude, and peace. They feel light, expansive, open. Your chest warms. Your body relaxes. You feel connected to the world around you. This is the feeling of a high, coherent frequency. It is energy expanding, opening up. Your emotions are your internal guidance system, a vibrational compass that is constantly telling you what frequency you are broadcasting. To tie this all together, imagine that you are a living, breathing radio receiver. Your body is the physical radio set, a magnificent piece of biological technology. But the experience of your life, the music you hear, is determined entirely by the station you are tuned to. All the possible stations, all the possible realities, are broadcasting simultaneously right now. In this very room, there is a station for despair, and its music is bleak and heavy. There is a station for anxiety, and its music is frantic and chaotic. There is a station for bitterness, and its music is sour and discordant. But there is also a station for profound peace, a station for unconditional love, a station for boundless creativity, They are all here. They are all available. You are not the victim of the music you are hearing. You are the one who controls the dial. And that dial is your frequency, your vibrational state of being, which is most immediately and powerfully influenced by your emotions. The world does not happen to you. It happens through you. It resonates with you. You do not live in a world of things. You live in a world of frequencies. The profound emptiness of the achievement society is the feeling of being permanently tuned to a station of static and lack, but you have the power to change the channel. The question now becomes, who or what is the consciousness that observes all of this? Who is the listener? Who is the one with their hand on the dial? This leads us to the power of perception and how the observer shapes the very reality they are observing. We stand now at the threshold of a profound mystery. We have accepted that we are energetic beings, swimming in an ocean of frequency, and that our emotions are the felt sense of our own vibration. We have our hand on the dial of our personal radio, tuning into the broadcasts of joy or despair. But this begs the ultimate question. Who is the one listening? Who is the one with their hand on the dial? What is this consciousness? This awareness? This silent, observing eye that sits behind our eyes? The greatest shift in understanding you will ever make is this. You are not a passive camera, dutifully recording an objective and pre-existing world. You are a projector. You are an artist. And the light you use to paint the canvas of reality is the light of your own perception. The world does not simply impress itself upon you. You, through the very act of observing, call the world into being. This sounds like a radical claim, a piece of New Age fantasy. But it is the very conclusion that quantum physics, the most rigorously tested science in history, has been forced to confront. In the bizarre and wonderful world of subatomic particles, scientists discovered a phenomenon so baffling, it shattered our entire conception of reality. The observer effect, in the famous double-slit experiment, when particles like electrons are not being watched, they behave not like tiny, solid balls, but like waves of pure potential. They exist in a ghostly superposition, a cloud of all possible locations at once. They are everywhere and nowhere, but the moment a measuring device is turned on, the moment consciousness, through the instrument of an observer, looks at them, the wave of potential instantly collapses into a single, definite particle in a single, definite place. The act of looking did not simply reveal what was there. The act of looking determined what was there. Consciousness, it seems, is the force that turns the ghostly fog of potentiality into the concrete reality we experience. Now, let us dare to scale this principle up from the microscopic realm of particles to the macroscopic realm of our lives. What if this is not a strange quirk of physics, but a fundamental law of creation? What if the universe around you is also a shimmering, infinite field of potential, a quantum soup of all possible experiences? Every possible future, every possible timeline, every possible version of you exists as a silent, vibrating potential. The life where you are fulfilled and joyful, the life where you are bitter and alone, the life of adventure, the life of quiet contemplation, they all exist as unmanifested waves. It is your consciousness, your focused awareness, that acts as the collapsing force. You are constantly, whether you know it or not, reaching into this field of infinite potential with your attention and pulling one single thread, one reality, into your experience. You are not a victim of your life story. You are its primary author, and your perception is the pen. But if our perception is so powerful, what guides it? Why do some of us seem to consistently call forth realities of struggle and pain? while others call forth joy and ease. The answer lies in the invisible architecture of the mind. Your system of beliefs. Your belief system is the master filter, the lens through which your consciousness looks out upon the world. This lens is ground and polished by every experience you've ever had, every lesson you've learned, every wound you've suffered, and every conclusion you've ever drawn about who you are and how the world works. Beliefs like "I am not worthy of love," or "you have to fight for everything you get," or "the world is a fundamentally dangerous place," are not just passive thoughts. They are active, energetic commands. They are the software that dictates how you filter the infinite data of the universe. Imagine you are standing in a library that contains all the books ever written. If you believe, deep down, that the world is a tragic place, you will walk through this infinite library, and your hands will only ever find the tragedies. Your eyes will skim past the comedies, the romances, and the adventures, because your belief system has programmed you to search only for evidence that confirms your conclusion. This is the confirmation bias. But elevated to a metaphysical principle, your beliefs create a feedback loop. You believe the world is hostile, so you filter for hostility. You perceive hostility. You react with hostility, and the world faithfully reflects that hostility back to you, reinforcing your original belief. Two people can walk down the same street, past the same people, and have two completely different experiences. One, filtered through a lens of fear, will see potential threats in every shadow and suspicious glances from every passerby. The other, filtered through a lens of curiosity and openness, will see architectural beauty and friendly faces. The street did not change, the lens did. This leads us to the mechanism by which this filtering operates. The great and often unconscious act of projection, the things that trigger you, the things you judge in others, the patterns that seem to haunt your life, are very often your own disowned inner content projected onto the screen of the outer world. We do not see the world as it is. We see the world as we are. If you carry a deep well of unresolved anger inside you, you will project it outward and perceive a world full of angry, aggressive people. If you feel a profound sense of insecurity, you will project it onto your partner and perceive them as constantly critical and disapproving. The world becomes a mirror. It is a neutral, reflective surface that can only show you what you bring before it. And this brings us back to that all-consuming feeling of emptiness. That hollowness is not a property of the world. It is not a cosmic fact. It is the quality of the light you are projecting. You are looking at reality through a lens of lack, a belief that something is missing. And so the world, like a perfect mirror, reflects back to you an experience of profound, unshakable lack. The emptiness is an echo of your own inner state. Over 2,000 years ago, the Greek philosopher Plato described this human condition in one of the most powerful allegories ever conceived. The allegory of the cave. He imagined prisoners chained in a cave since birth, facing a blank wall. Behind them, a fire burns, and people walk past the fire carrying various objects, casting shadows on the wall in front of the prisoners. For the prisoners, who have known nothing else, these flickering shadows are not shadows. They are reality itself. They study them, name them, and believe in them completely. We, Plato, argued, are these prisoners. The cave is our limited, conditioned perception. The shadows on the wall are the surface-level reality we mistake for the whole truth. Awakening, or enlightenment, is the process of one prisoner breaking their chains, turning around, and seeing the fire and the objects for what they are. It is the painful, disorienting journey out of the cave and into the true sunlight, into a deeper, more authentic reality. Escaping the cave is the process of realizing that you have been mistaking your own projections for the world. It is the beginning of cleansing the lens of your perception. So, if our world is a product of our perception, and our perception is shaped by our beliefs, then the path to changing our world lies in changing the lens through which we view it. But how? How do we break the chains and turn away from the shadows? Fortunately, we are not the first to ask these questions. Ancient civilizations were obsessed with this very process, and they left behind maps, whispers from antiquity, guides for the journey out of the cave and into the light. We have arrived at the edge of the cave, our eyes blinking in the unfamiliar light, realizing that the shadows we called reality were of our own making. We are faced with the most important question a human can ask. How do we cleanse the lens of our perception? How do we break the chains of our conditioning and see the world and ourselves as they truly are? To answer this, we must understand that we are a culture with amnesia. We are like brilliant children who have invented incredible technologies but have forgotten our own names, forgotten where we came from, and forgotten the accumulated wisdom of our ancestors. We believe we are at the pinnacle of human history, yet we are haunted by an emptiness that suggests we have lost something vital along the way. The truth is, we are not the first to embark on this journey out of the cave. We are merely trying to rediscover the maps that were once common knowledge, maps that have been buried, burned, and dismissed, but never fully destroyed. These are the whispers from antiquity, the lost maps of the human soul. When we think of ancient civilizations, we often do so with a sense of modern superiority. We see their pyramids, their temples, and their philosophies as primitive steps on a long march toward our own technological supremacy. But this is a profound misunderstanding of their genius. Their genius was not oriented toward the outer world of material manipulation, but toward the inner cosmos of consciousness itself. Their societies were not driven by the engine of productivity and growth, but by the pursuit of harmony and alignment. In ancient Egypt, the entire civilization was built around the concept of Ma'at, the divine principle of truth, balance, order, and justice. A pharaoh's duty was not to expand the economy, but to uphold Ma'at, the ultimate judgment of a person's life, as depicted in the Book of the Dead, was the weighing of the heart. The soul of the deceased would have their heart placed on a scale against a single white feather. The feather of Ma'at, if the heart, heavy with greed, deceit, and unresolved emotion, outweighed the feather, the soul was devoured. If it was as light as the feather, it was granted eternal life. This is not just a myth, it is a powerful psychological teaching. The goal of life was not to accumulate possessions, but to purify the heart, to lighten the soul, to live in such a way that your inner being was in perfect, weightless alignment with cosmic truth. Similarly, in Vedic India, society was structured around the concepts of dharma, one's sacred duty and the inherent nature of reality, and Rita, the physical order of the universe. Life was a sacred ritual of aligning one's personal will with the cosmic will. In ancient Greece, carved into the entrance of the Temple of Apollo at Delphi, the most sacred site in their world, were two words: know thyself. This was the highest command, the key that unlocked all other wisdom. For them, to know yourself was to know the gods and the universe. Compare this to the driving principles of our world progress: innovation, disruption, market share. Their orientation was vertical, seeking connection with the divine, the eternal. Our orientation is horizontal, seeking advantage over our competitors, our neighbors, ourselves. They were building cathedrals of the spirit, We are building empires of the ego. The emptiness we feel is the sound of our souls starving for that lost vertical dimension. This difference in purpose stemmed from a fundamental difference in how they viewed the universe itself. We are the heirs of the Enlightenment, which, for all its gifts, bequeathed us the image of a clockwork universe, a vast, unfeeling machine made of dead matter, governed by predictable physical laws. God, if he existed at all, was the divine watchmaker who wound it up and then left it to tick on its own. We live in what the sociologist Max Weber called a disenchanted world. But the ancients lived in an ensouled universe. For them, everything was alive. Everything was intelligent. Everything was sacred. The universe was not a machine. It was a living, breathing organism, a divine being in which they were participating. The river was not just a body of water. It was a goddess. The sun was not just a ball of gas. It was a solar deity, whose journey across the sky was a daily act of cosmic sacrifice and rebirth. The planets were not just chunks of rock. They were conscious intelligences with distinct personalities and influences. This worldview did not stem from childish superstition. It stemmed from a state of perception so open and refined that it could sense the subtle life force, the consciousness that permeates all things. When you live in a living universe, your relationship with it changes. You do not seek to exploit it for resources. You seek to enter into a relationship with it. You learn its rhythms, listen to its whispers, and ask for its guidance. Because they lived in a conscious universe, their primary field of study was consciousness itself. They were masters of a lost science, the science of the soul. Their understanding of the human psyche was not a flat, one-dimensional model like our own. It was a multi-layered, holographic reality. The Egyptians, for example, believed the human being was composed of at least 9 distinct parts, including the Khat, or physical body, the Ka, or vital life force, and the Ba, the unique personality, often depicted as a human-headed bird that could travel outside the body during trance or after death. This complex model reveals a deep, experiential knowledge of phenomena we would now label as lucid dreaming, astral projection, and out-of-body experiences. Their sacred texts, like the pyramid texts or the Tibetan Book of the Dead, are often misinterpreted as simple guidebooks for the deceased. In reality, they were psycho-spiritual maps for the living. They were instructions for initiates in their mystery schools on how to navigate the various layers of consciousness, to face the demons of their own psyche, and to achieve a direct personal experience of their own divinity while still alive. So where did all this profound wisdom go? Why do we have to speak of it in whispers? As if uncovering a hidden secret, we must turn our gaze to a great tragedy, a singular event that serves as a powerful symbol for this collective forgetting. We must imagine the smoke rising from the coast of Egypt, the smoke from the burning of the great library of Alexandria. This was not just a building full of scrolls. It was the intellectual and spiritual heart of the ancient world. It held the accumulated knowledge of Egypt, Greece, Persia, India, and beyond. It contained masterpieces of mathematics, astronomy, and medicine. But it also held the esoteric texts, the guides to alchemy, the records of the mystery schools, the very maps of the soul we are now desperately seeking. Its destruction and the subsequent rise of a more dogmatic and materialistic worldview represented a catastrophic severing of our connection to the past. We didn't just lose information, we lost an entire way of knowing. We lost the keys to our own inner kingdom. But this knowledge was not lost completely. Like the resilient seeds of a great forest after a fire, it survived. It was kept alive in secret, passed down through hidden lineages, encoded in the symbols of alchemy, as in the allegories of tarot, as in the architecture of the great cathedrals, and in the cryptic philosophies of Hermeticism. These are the fragments of the lost maps. Our journey now, the journey out of the cave, is to become archaeologists of the spirit. We must gather these fragments, piece them together, and learn to read their language once more. And our quest begins with one of the most powerful and complete fragments that survived the Great Forgetting, a set of 7 universal principles, said to hold the master key to unlocking all of reality's mysteries. A philosophy so profound. It claims that if you understand its laws, you can move from being a mere pawn on the chessboard of life to becoming the player. In the ashes of the Great Forgetting, amidst the rubble of lost libraries and silenced wisdom, certains fragments survivent, protected by whispers and passed down through the shadows of history. They were preserved not as relics of a dead past, but as living keys for a future that had forgotten its own potential. Of all these surviving maps of the soul, one is considered the cornerstone, the master key that unlocks the others. It is a body of knowledge so ancient and so profound that its origins are shrouded in legend. It is the wisdom of Hermes Trismegistus, a name that means Hermes the thrice greatest. He was known to the ancient Egyptians as Thoth, the scribe of the gods, the master of divine speech and writing. To the Greeks, he was Hermes, the messenger, the swift-footed god who traveled between the world of mortals and the realm of the divine. This fusion of two cultures represents a figure who was said to have mastered all 3 planes of reality: the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. Hence his title, thrice greatest. His teachings, distilled into a collection of axioms and principles known as the Kabbalion, are said to be the foundation of all the world's esoteric wisdom. They are not a religion, nor a dogma. They are a description of the mechanics of reality, a set of 7 universal laws that govern everything from the motion of a star to the thoughts in your mind. To understand them is to begin the journey from being a pawn on the chessboard of life to becoming the player. The first of these great principles is the most fundamental, the one upon which all others rest. It is the principle of mentalism. It states, "The all is mind. The universe is mental." This simple phrase shatters the entire foundation of a materialistic worldview. It declares that the universe is not a dead, unfeeling machine. The underlying substance of all reality is an infinite, living, conscious mind, referred to as the all. Everything we see and experience, the galaxies, the planets, you, your body, your thoughts, all of it is a mental creation held in the mind of the all. The universe is not a great machine. It is a great thought. This means that consciousness is not a random byproduct of evolution that happened in the human brain. Consciousness is the fundamental stuff of existence. You are a mind, living within a greater mind. And because you are a part of this universal mind, you share in its creative power. From this flows the second principle, the principle of correspondence, captured in the timeless Hermetic axiom, as above, so below, as below, so above. This is the law of analogy, of harmony between the different planes of being. It means there is a direct correspondence between the laws that govern the physical world, the mental world, and the spiritual world. The patterns repeat. The structure of an atom mirrors the structure of a solar system. The branching of a river delta mirrors the branching of the veins in your hand. The life cycle of a star mirrors the life cycle of a human soul. This principle is a profound tool for understanding. It means that by studying what we can see and know, the below, we can come to understand the vast and the mysterious, the above. It means the journey to know the universe is not an outward one to the stars, but an inward one into the self. For you, the microcosm are a perfect miniature reflection of the macrocosm. To know thyself is, quite literally, to know God and the cosmos. The third principle explains the mechanism by which the mental universe expresses itself. This is the principle of vibration, which states, nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. This ancient teaching predates modern quantum physics by thousands of years, yet it describes its core discovery. Everything is energy in constant motion. There is no such thing as stillness. The differences between the various manifestations of matter, energy, mind, and even spirit are simply the result of their varying rates of vibration. A rock is a slow, dense vibration. Sound is a faster vibration. Light is faster still. Your thoughts are incredibly rapid and subtle vibrations. And at the highest end of the spectrum is the all itself, pure spirit, whose vibration is so infinitely fast and intense that it appears to be at rest. Just as a rapidly spinning wheel can appear motionless, this principle is the key to power. By understanding that everything has a unique frequency, you can learn to change your own frequency to resonate with the reality you wish to experience. The fourth great principle is the principle of polarity. It states, everything is dual, everything has poles, everything has its pair of opposites, but opposites are identical in nature, differing only in degree. At first, this seems contradictory, but it holds a secret to profound personal freedom. Think of hot and cold. They seem to be complete opposites, but they are not two different things. They are simply two ends of the same spectrum called temperature. Where does hot stop and cold begin? It is entirely relative. The same is true for all opposites, light and darkness, love and hatred, courage and fear, wealth and poverty. They are not separate realities. They are two poles of the same thing. This understanding is the basis for what the Hermetists called mental alchemy. For if fear and courage are on the same spectrum, it is possible to travel along that spectrum. You have the power to transmute an undesirable emotional state into its opposite, not by fighting it, but by consciously changing your polarity. By raising your mental vibrations from the pole of fear toward the pole of courage. Following this is the fifth principle, the principle of rhythm. It states, everything flows, out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. This is the law of cycles in every aspect of life. There is a measured, rhythmic swing from one pole to the other. The tide comes in, and the tide goes out. Empires rise, and empires fall. The economy booms, and the economy busts. Your mood is elated, and your mood is dejected. This rhythm is inescapable. However, the Hermetic masters do not allow themselves to be swept away by this pendulum. They learn what is called the law of neutralization. By understanding this principle, they achieve a higher state of consciousness. They cannot stop the pendulum from swinging, but they can learn to rise above it, to polarize themselves at a point of conscious stability, and allow the pendulum of emotion and circumstance to swing beneath them, without being carried away by it. The sixth principle is the principle of cause and effect. It states, every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for a law not recognized. There are no accidents in the universe. Everything is part of a great, orderly, unbroken chain of causation. Most people are carried along by this chain like a leaf in a river. They are an effect of hidden causes, the beliefs of their parents, the pressures of their culture, their own unconscious moods and desires. They are pawns on the chessboard of life, moved by forces they do not perceive. The goal of the hermetist is to rise above this plane of effects and become a cause. By mastering their own mind and understanding the preceding principles, they learn to operate from a higher plane of consciousness, initiating causes that create desired effects in their lives, rather than simply reacting to the effects created by others. They become the player, not the piece. Finally, the seventh principle is the principle of gender. It states, gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes. This principle must not be confused with physical sex. It refers to universal archetypal energies that are present in all things. The masculine principle is the energy of the will, the projective, assertive, directive force. It is the I that desires and acts. The feminine principle is the energy of receptivity, the nurturing, creative, generative force. It is the fertile womb in which things are developed and brought into being. All creation, from the birth of a galaxy to the completion of a creative project, requires the interplay of both these principles. An idea, a spark of will, masculine, must be planted in the fertile ground of the creative imagination. Feminine, in order to grow and be born into reality. A life that is all will and no receptivity is barren and aggressive. A life that is all receptivity and no will is passive and stagnant. Mastery requires the conscious balance of both. These seven principles, working in harmony, form an elegant and complete philosophy of the universe. They are not meant to be memorized as dogma, but to be observed in action, in your life, and in the world around you. They are the essential tools, the lost map that allows you to escape the cave of your limited perception. And it is the very first principle, the most profound of all, that the all is mind, which opens the door to our next investigation. For if the world is indeed a mental creation, it forces us to ask a deeply unsettling question, a question explored by another ancient and mystical school of thought. If this reality is a thought, who is the thinker? And what if that thinker is not entirely what we believe it to be? The Hermetic teachings lay before us a universe that is profoundly intelligent, a mental creation of a singular, cosmic mind. It presents a world of perfect laws, a world of elegant correspondence and rhythm, but this elegant blueprint raises a deeply challenging question. When we hold it up against the world we actually experience, look around you. Do you see a perfect creation, or do you see a world rife with suffering? A world of breathtaking beauty juxtaposed with unspeakable cruelty. A world of profound ignorance and chaotic chance, existing alongside moments of divine grace. What if the universe we inhabit is not the pristine thought of a perfect God? What if it is more like a flawed copy, a corrupt file, a dream being dreamt by a lesser, ignorant creator? This was the dangerous, radical, and world-shattering proposition put forth by the spiritual rebels of the ancient world. The Gnostics, they were the mystics who dared to suggest that we are living in a prison, and that the warden of this prison believes he is God. To understand the Gnostic revelation, we must understand their cosmic drama, a story not of a perfect creation, but of a tragic cosmic error. They taught that far beyond our universe, there exists a true, unknowable God, a transcendent source of all light and consciousness. This realm, called the Pleroma, is a place of absolute fullness and perfection. Within this realm exist divine beings of pure light, or aeons. The story begins when one of these aeons, a feminine power named Sophia, which means wisdom, in a passionate desire to create on her own without her divine partner, gives birth to a malformed and imperfect being outside the sanctuary of the Pleroma. This being, born in shadow and separated from the true light, is arrogant, powerful, and deeply ignorant. His name is the Demiurge, which means the public craftsman, unaware of the pleroma or the true God above him. He looks upon the chaotic matter he has fashioned and, in his cosmic blindness, declares, "I am God, and there are no other gods before me." This, the Gnostics claim, is the God that many worship, the God of wrath and judgment, the God of absolute law, not the true God of infinite love and light. This Demiurge then proceeds to create the physical universe and everything in it, including humankind. He fashions our bodies from the dust of his flawed material world. But to animate these bodies, he unwittingly uses the one divine thing he possesses, the spark of his mother Sophia, the spark of divine light that was passed into him during his arid conception. And so here we are. We are divine sparks of the infinite, eternal light of the pleroma, trapped inside cages of flesh and bone, living in a flawed material labyrinth created by a blind and ignorant God. This is the Gnostic explanation for our profound and painful dualism. We have a mortal, animalistic self that is drawn to the passions and fears of the material world, a self that belongs to the Demiurge, but we also have a deep inner spirit, a homesick soul that yearns for a freedom it can't name and a home it can't remember. We are gods in exile, princes and princesses living in amnesia, believing we are paupers. The path to liberation in the Gnostic worldview is not through faith or good works or obedience to the laws of the Demiurge. It is through one thing, and one thing only: gnosis. The word gnosis does not mean belief. It means knowledge. But it is not the knowledge you find in books or lectures. It is a direct, personal, explosive, and intuitive knowledge. A revelation that comes from within. It is the moment of awakening, the moment the divine spark inside you stirs from its slumber and remembers where it came from. It is a profound act of anamnesis, or remembrance. The Gnostic Savior, the figure of Christ, was not seen as a sacrifice to appease the wrath of the Demiurge. He was seen as a messenger, an emissary from the pleroma, who came not to be worshipped, but to awaken us. He came to remind us of our true nature and to show us the path of gnosis, the path that leads out of the prison and back home to the light. This knowledge cannot be given to you by a priest or a guru. It must be experienced directly. It is the difference between being told about fire and putting your own hand in the flame. This ancient and radical worldview may sound like a strange, forgotten myth, but its themes are so deeply embedded in the human psyche that they are constantly being reborn in our modern stories. There is no greater example of a modern Gnostic parable than the film The Matrix. Think of the parallels. The Matrix itself is the material world, a simulated reality created by the Demiurge, in this case the machine, to keep humanity docile and imprisoned. Using them as a source of energy, the world feels real. But there is a deep sense of wrongness, what Morpheus calls a splinter in your mind, that drives the protagonist, Neo, on his search for truth. Neo is the Gnostic initiate, a divine spark trapped in the system, sensing that he is more than his simulated life suggests. Morpheus is the Gnostic teacher, the messenger who comes from the outside to offer the liberating knowledge. And the famous choice between the two pills is the choice between comfortable ignorance and transformative gnosis. The blue pill keeps you in the world of belief, in the prison of the Demiurge. The red pill offers gnosis. It is the key that unlocks the cage, allowing you to see the desert of the real, to awaken to the truth of your situation. However terrifying that truth may be, the agents are the archons, the servants of the Demiurge. who police the system and hunt down anyone who dares to wake up and challenge its laws. The entire journey of Neo is the journey of the Gnostic soul awakening, remembering his true power, and learning to bend the laws of the false reality until he can finally transcend it. And this brings us back to that feeling of emptiness, that sense of alienation that is the quiet plague of our modern world. The Gnostics would look upon this feeling not as a psychological problem to be medicated, but as a profound and hopeful spiritual symptom. They would say that your soul feels empty because it knows this world is not a nourishing home. Your spirit feels like an alien because it is an alien here. The deep, aching feeling that you don't belong, that you are a stranger in a strange land, is the gnosis already stirring within you. It is your divine spark, your inner core of light, remembering, however faintly, of its true home in the pleroma. It is a celestial homesickness. The path they offer is not one of trying to find happiness within the system, of trying to succeed by the rules of the demiurge's world. The Gnostic path is one of transcendence. It is the path of the spiritual rebel, the lucid dreamer, the prisoner who realizes the walls are an illusion. It is the path of awakening, of remembering your divine origin, and of finding your way back to the true light from which you came. The Gnostics were not alone in this diagnosis of reality as a grand illusion across the world. Another, even older tradition, looked upon the world and saw a similar veil of deceit. But they told a very different story about the nature of the magician casting the spell. The Gnostic revelation paints a stark and rebellious picture of our reality, one of a divine soul trapped in a flawed prison, yearning for escape. It is a powerful narrative of cosmic drama and spiritual warfare. But what if we were to turn away from this Western story of rebellion and look into a different mirror? A mirror held up by the ancient sages of the East. We would find a reflection of the same fundamental truths, but seen through a lens of profound serenity and cosmic playfulness. We would find that the Gnostics were not alone in seeing the world as a veil of illusion, but the Eastern story of how that veil is woven and who is weaving it is radically different. In the ancient philosophies of India, particularly in Vedanta, the world we perceive is understood as Maya. The word Maya is often translated as illusion, but this single word is too blunt, too empty. It fails to capture the richness of the concept. Maya is not just a lie, it is a work of divine art. It is magic. It is a grand performance, a cosmic conjuring trick. It is the incomprehensible power of the one, ultimate reality to appear as the many. The world is not a prison built by an ignorant warden. It is a divine dream, dreamt by the one, universal consciousness. This dream is often called Lila, which means divine play. The universe, with all its drama, its beauty, its horror, its triumphs and tragedies, is the spontaneous, joyful, and purposeless play of God. The problem, therefore, is not with the dream itself. The dream is a magnificent, unfolding masterpiece. The problem is that the characters in the dream, us, have forgotten that we are dream characters. We have mistaken the play for ultimate reality. And in doing so, we have become lost in our roles, suffering the dream pains and chasing the dream pleasures as if they were absolute and final. The world of Maya is like watching a movie. You can become completely engrossed. You can laugh and cry with the characters. But you never forget that there is a screen, a projector, and a reality outside the theater. The soul lost in Maya has forgotten it is in a theater. It believes the screen is the only world there is. So what is the force that keeps us so completely engrossed in this divine play? What is the engine that drives the narrative forward and binds us to our roles? Life after life in the East. This engine is known as karma. Just as with Maya, karma is a word that has been flattened and misunderstood in the West. It is not a system of moralistic reward and punishment meted out by a judgmental, sky-faring deity. Karma is a simple, impersonal, and unerring law of nature, as neutral and as absolute as gravity. It is the Eastern reflection of the Hermetic principle of cause and effect. It means that every action, every word, and even every thought you have is a cause that creates a ripple in the fabric of the universe. That ripple, by law, must eventually return to its source as an effect. The kindness you put out into the world will return to you as kindness. The harm you inflict will return to you as harm. It is not a punishment. It is a rebalancing. It is the universe simply returning your own energy back to you. This relentless and intricate web of cause and effect is what powers the great wheel of samsara. The endless cycle of death and rebirth. The soul, driven by the momentum of its past karmic imprints and its unfulfilled desires, is reborn again and again into the world of Maya, forever chasing satisfaction in the ephemeral world of the dream. If this is our condition, trapped on the wheel of karma within the grand dream of Maya, then who are we? Truly, who is the dreamer? Who is the one that is bound to the wheel? This question leads to the most profound and liberating revelation in all of Eastern thought. The supreme insight of the Upanishads. The sages taught that within each individual being, there is an immortal, unchanging, and silent witness to all of life's drama. This inner, true self is called the Atman. The Atman is not your personality, which changes. It is not your body, which ages. It is not your thoughts or emotions, which come and go like clouds in the sky. The Atman is the sky itself. It is the pure, observing consciousness that was there for your first breath and will be there for your last. It is the divine spark, the eternal subject, the real I that exists behind the mask of the ego. At the same time, these sages perceive the ultimate reality of the universe, the source of all things, the one, indivisible, universal consciousness, as Brahman. Brahman is the ground of all being, the infinite ocean from which all the waves of creation arise. It is the Hermetic all, the mind of God, the supreme reality that is beyond all names and forms. And here is the great revelation, the statement that forms the bedrock of Vedanta, the Mahavakya, or great saying Tatvamac. These three short words in Sanskrit mean, Thou art that. It does not mean you are a part of God. It does not mean you are a child of God. It means that your innermost self, your Atman, is, and always has been, identical to the ultimate reality of the universe. Brahman. The drop is not just in the ocean. The drop is the ocean. The silent witness behind your eyes is the same silent witness behind all eyes. God is not a separate being to be worshipped. God is the very consciousness with which you are aware. Right now, the ultimate goal of life, therefore, is moksha, or liberation. Moksha is not about getting to a heavenly realm after you die. It is about waking up, here and now, from the dream of separation and realizing the profound, unshakable truth of your own divinity. It is the dream character awakening to the stunning realization that it is, and always has been, the dreamer. So we see, in the Eastern mirror, the same truths we found in the West, but clothed in different garments. The grand illusion of Maya is the reflection of the Gnostic matrix and Plato's cave. The impersonal law of karma is the reflection of the Hermetic law of cause and effect. The divine, inner Atman is the reflection of the Gnostic's trap, divine spark. And the all-encompassing Brahman is the reflection of the Hermetic all. There is a beautiful parable that illustrates this path of awakening. Etia Krupp, orphaned at birth, was raised by a flock of goats. It learned to bleat, to eat grass, and to fear the other animals of the forest. It felt weak, anxious, and out of place, but it believed it was a goat. One day, a fierce old tiger came upon the flock and was astonished to see this young tiger cowering and bleeding among them. He chased the young tiger, who was terrified, and dragged him to a still, clear lake. He forced the young tiger to look at his own reflection, next to the reflection of the old tiger. In that moment, seeing his true face for the first time, something deep within the young tiger awoke. He let out not a bleat, but a powerful, mighty roar. He was not a goat. He was a tiger. We are that young tiger. The world of Maya has taught us that we are goats. Limited, fearful egos. The spiritual path is simply the process of a teacher, a teaching, or a moment of grace, showing us our own reflection until we finally recognize the face of Brahman, the face of God. Looking back at us, we have now seen from both West and East that our reality is not what it seems, and our identity is far grander than we imagine. But these are still philosophies. How does one practically begin to stop bleeding like a goat? How do we shift our identity from the dream character to the dreamer? This requires a tool, a technique to quiet the mind and find the silent witness behind it. This is the power of the present moment. We have traveled from the sterile halls of the Achievement Society to the mystical landscapes of the ancient world. We have stood with the Hermetic sage and seen the universe as a great mind. We have rebelled with the Gnostic, seeing the world as a beautiful but flawed prison. We have sat with the Eastern Rishi and understood reality as a divine dream. A single, golden thread runs through all these tapestries. Our perceived reality is a form of illusion, and our true nature is something far grander. A divine consciousness lost in a grand forgetting. This is a staggering realization, but what does it mean for you right now? How does this ancient wisdom help when you feel the familiar grip of anxiety, when you are lost in regret, or when the crushing weight of the daily grind makes all this philosophy feel like a distant and irrelevant fantasy? The answer is the most simple and most profound truth of all. The escape route from the prison, the way to awaken from the dream, is not in a faraway land or a future enlightenment. The portal is here. The portal is now. And the key is to disarm the very mechanism that weaves the illusion, the incessant, compulsive voice in your head. For most of us, our entire life is lived through this voice. It is the internal narrator that never, ever stops talking. It comments. It speculates. It judges. It complains. It compares. It worries. It is the background static of our existence. We are so completely identified with this stream of thought and the emotions it generates that we don't even recognize it as a separate activity. We believe that we are this voice. This is the primary illusion, the fundamental error that keeps us trapped. This thinking mind has two favorite destinations, two phantom realms where life does not actually exist: the past and the future. It compulsively drags your awareness back into the past, forcing you to endlessly relive old conversations, old wounds, old mistakes. It generates loops of regret, resentment, and sadness, all based on things that are over and done. Things that exist now only as memory traces in your mind. Or it slingshots your awareness into the future, creating an endless parade of what-if scenarios. It manufactures anxiety about events that have not happened and will likely never happen. It paints pictures of future failure or fantasizes about a future success that will finally make you happy. ensuring that your present moment is always seen as a deficient stepping stone to somewhere else. The past is a ghost, and the future is a dream. By living in them, the mind ensures you are never present for the only thing that is ever real, your life, as it is unfolding right now. This is what it means to be lost in the dream. This is what it means to be a prisoner watching shadows on the wall of a cave. The great liberation, the beginning of all true spiritual practice, begins with a single, revolutionary insight. You are not the voice in your head. You are not the thinker. If you can be aware of a thought, if you can notice the voice chattering away, then there must be two of you, the thought that is being noticed, and the one who is noticing. Who is this one who notices? This is the silent witness, the still point in the turning world. This is the deeper consciousness, the Atman, the true self that we have been speaking of. It is the sky, and the thoughts are merely the clouds passing through. The practice of meditation is the formal training for strengthening your identification with the sky rather than the clouds. It is not, as is commonly believed, about stopping your thoughts. Trying to stop your thoughts is like trying to calm a turbulent lake by slapping the surface of the water with your hands. You will only create more agitation. The practice is far more gentle and profound. It is to simply sit, to feel your breath, and to allow the thoughts to be there, without judgment, without resistance, and without following them down their rabbit holes. You simply watch them arise. You watch them pass, and you gently return your attention to your breath. In doing this, you are performing a radical act. You are withdrawing your energy and belief from the thinking mind. You are breaking the lifelong habit of identification. This meditative awareness is not meant to be confined to a cushion. The goal is to bring this quality of presence into the fabric of your daily life. This is the practice of mindfulness. It is the art of anchoring your attention in the raw, unfiltered sensory reality of the present moment. Right now, can you feel the subtle sensation of the air entering your nostrils? Can you feel the points of contact between your body and the surface you are on? Can you hear the ambient sounds in your room without labeling them as good or bad, but simply as pure vibration? This is the gateway to the now. The mind deals in concepts, labels, and stories about reality. Presence deals with reality itself. When you wash the dishes, are you actually there, feeling the warmth of the water and the smoothness of the plate? Or are you in your head, replaying an argument from yesterday or worrying about a meeting tomorrow? Mindfulness is the art of closing that gap, of bringing your whole self to your experience, of inhabiting your life instead of just thinking about it. This is the direct antidote to the feeling of emptiness. The state of being lost in thought is a state of profound disconnection. You are disconnected from your body, from your senses, from the vibrant aliveness of the world around you. You are living in a ghostly world of mental abstraction. So, of course, your life feels empty. The present moment, when you enter it fully, is never empty. It is always full. It is full of sensations, sounds, and the silent, pulsing energy of life itself. When you become present, you connect with the being that exists beneath the doing. You connect with the stillness that exists beneath the noise. You are not creating fullness. You are discovering the fullness that was always there, patiently waiting for you beneath the frantic activity of your mind. The treasure was never in a different place or a different time. It was buried right here, under your own feet. And as you learn to rest in this state of presence, your awareness begins to refine. You become quiet enough to perceive the more subtle languages of the universe. You start to notice the intricate patterns, the elegant harmonies, and the divine mathematics that are woven into the very fabric of existence. A language of pure form and beauty that the ancients understood as sacred. When the turbulent waters of the thinking mind begin to settle, when you learn to rest in the silent, open space of the present moment, you do not find a void. You find a world that is breathtakingly alive. A world humming with a profound and subtle intelligence. The ancients knew this. They understood that the universe speaks not in words, but in a language that transcends all human culture and all epochs of time. It is a language of pattern, of proportion, of rhythm, and of form. It is the silent, elegant, and universal language of creation itself. Sacred geometry. Thousands of years ago, the Greek mystic and mathematician Pythagoras declared, "All is number." This was not the statement of a dry academic. It was the ecstatic revelation of a man who had perceived the divine blueprint of reality. Pythagoras ran a mystery school where initiates were taught that geometry and music were sacred sciences, pathways to understanding the mind of God. He discovered that the harmonious intervals of music, the notes that create feelings of beauty and resonance in the human soul, could all be expressed as simple, whole number ratios. An octave is a ratio of 2 to 1. A perfect fifth is 3 to 2. A perfect fourth is 4 to 3. This was a thunderous insight. The invisible laws of harmony were built upon the visible, elegant logic of mathematics. He extrapolated this principle to the entire cosmos, believing that the distances between the planets and the speeds of their orbits corresponded to these same musical ratios, producing a celestial symphony so vast and so constant that it could not be heard by the human ear. A silent song known as the music of the spheres. This established a foundational truth. Number and geometry are not things that humans invented. They are eternal principles that we discovered. They are the thoughts of the Creator, made visible. Once you begin to look for this language, you find it everywhere, encoded in the most ancient and sacred sites on earth. One of the most powerful and pervasive of these symbols is known as the flower of life, etched into the walls of the Temple of Osiris in Egypt, found in ancient temples across China, Israel, and Japan. This symbol is a silent testament to a forgotten, universal knowledge. It emerges from a simple, generative process. You begin with a single circle. Then you draw a second circle with its center on the edge of the first, creating the almond shape known as the vesica piscis. By continuing this pattern, a beautiful, flower-like design emerges. A perfect, interlocking web of circles. This is far more than just a pleasing pattern. It is considered to be a blueprint of creation, a diagram showing how the one consciousness differentiates itself into the many in a perfectly harmonious and ordered way. It is a visual representation of the interconnectedness of all life. Within its proportions, it contains all the fundamental shapes and mathematical constants of the universe. It is the pattern of cell division, the geometry of the atom, the very architecture of the unified field. From the heart of the flower of life emerges another, even more profound pattern known as Metatron's cube. By connecting the centers of the 13 circles within the flower of life's core structure, a complex, three-dimensional looking shape appears. This shape is considered to be the master key to the building blocks of reality, because within its lines, the blueprints for all 5 Platonic solids are held. The Platonic solids are the most fundamental shapes in existence. They are the only 5 three-dimensional forms in which every face is an identical regular polygon, and the same number of faces meet at every corner. They are the tetrahedron, a 4-sided pyramid, the cube 6 sides, the octahedron 8 sides, the icosahedron 20 sides, and the dodecahedron 12 sides. They are the simplest, most symmetrical, and most perfect possible solids. The ancient Greeks, following Plato, considered these to be the elemental building blocks of the physical world. The sharp tetrahedron was fire, The stable cube was earth. The smooth octahedron was air. The flowing icosahedron was water. And the mysterious, celestial dodecahedron was aether, or spirit. Think of the flow of creation this reveals from the one unified field, the flower of life. A pattern of structure emerges Metatron's cube, which contains the fundamental components, the Platonic solids, that combine to form the elements of our physical reality. This is the divine architecture, from the unmanifest to the manifest, drawn in a few simple, elegant lines. But this language is not merely static. It is a language of living vibration. In the Hindu tradition, one of the most sacred symbols is the Sri Yantra. It is a complex diagram of 9 interlocking triangles, 4 pointing upward and 5 pointing downward, radiating from a central point known as the Bindu. The upward pointing triangles represent the masculine, projective energy of the universe, while the downward pointing ones represent the feminine, receptive energy. Their sacred union, their cosmic dance, gives birth to the entire manifest world, depicted by the 43 smaller triangles that are formed by their intersection. The Bindu is the point of origin, the silent, unmanifest source from which all creation emerges. Sages have taught for millennia that the Sri Yantra is not just a symbol of creation, but a visual representation of the primal sound of creation, the sacred mantra, This ancient mystical teaching has found stunning validation in the modern scientific field of cymatics. Cymatics is the study of visible sound. When a metal plate is covered with a fine powder, like sand, and then vibrated with a specific musical frequency, the sand, which had been in a chaotic state, instantly arranges itself into a precise and beautiful geometric pattern. Change the frequency, and the pattern instantly dissolves and reforms into a new, equally intricate design. This is a staggering revelation. Frequency creates form. Geometric patterns are what vibrations look like. It is the ultimate confirmation of the Pythagorean vision. And remarkably, when the frequency of the sound OM is played, the pattern that emerges in the sand is a complex mandala that bears a striking resemblance to the ancient Sri Yantra. Sacred geometry, it turns out, is the visible form of the music of the spheres. It is frequency, made manifest. So what does this mean for us? On our journey to awaken from the dream, these sacred forms are not just beautiful art or interesting intellectual curiosities. They are tools for energetic alignment. They are tuning forks for the soul. The universe, at its most fundamental level, is an ordered, harmonious, and geometric symphony. Our own personal energy fields, when cluttered with the chaotic static of the thinking mind, with fear, and with trauma, are out of tune with this cosmic symphony. When we meditate upon these symbols, when we draw them, when we simply sit in their presence, we are exposing our own consciousness to the pure, coherent frequencies of creation itself. Our energy field begins to resonate with these patterns of harmony and order. It is an act of remembering, on a deep, cellular level, the blueprint of our own perfection. We are tuning the instrument of the self to the keynote of the cosmos. We have now learned to quiet the mind to be present. And in that presence, we have discovered the hidden language of the universe. We have shifted from being unconscious participants in the dream to conscious observers of its divine architecture. The next great step on this journey is to move from being a conscious observer to becoming a conscious creator. If this is the language of creation, how do we learn to speak it? We have now stood in the presence of the silent, elegant language of the universe. We have seen how the cosmos speaks in the universal tongue of pattern, frequency, and sacred geometry. Having learned to quiet our minds and perceive this hidden architecture, we arrive at the next great threshold of our journey. It is time to move from being a conscious observer to becoming a conscious creator. If this is the language of reality, the next step is to learn how to speak it. This brings us to one of the most popular, yet most profoundly misunderstood concepts in modern spirituality, the law of attraction. You have heard of it. You have likely seen it portrayed as a kind of cosmic vending machine. A simple trick for getting what you want. Visualize a sports car. Believe you will have it. And one day it will magically appear in your driveway. This simplistic, almost cartoonish portrayal is a shallow echo of a deep and powerful universal law. To truly understand it, we must wipe the slate clean of wishful thinking and see it for what it is. A fundamental law of resonance, grounded in the very principles of creation we have already explored. Let us, for a moment, rename it. Let us call it the law of resonance, for this is a far more accurate description of its mechanics. This law is a direct consequence of the Hermetic principle of vibration, the ancient teaching, now confirmed by modern physics, that everything moves, everything vibrates. You are not a solid, static entity. You are a walking, talking, thinking field of energy, a complex symphony of vibrations, and like a musical instrument, you are constantly broadcasting a signal, a specific frequency, into the unified field of the universe. This frequency is the sum total of your state of being. It is determined not by your fleeting thoughts or your spoken words, but by the deep, underlying currents of your beliefs and, most importantly, your emotions. Your dominant emotional state is your energetic signature. It is the note you are playing, loud and clear, in every moment. Think of a room filled with tuning forks of every possible musical note. If you take a tuning fork tuned to the key of C and strike it, something miraculous happens. Across the room, only the other tuning forks also tuned to the key of C will begin to vibrate in sympathy. They will hum with the same frequency. The tuning forks tuned to G or F sharp will remain silent. They are not on the same wavelength, like attracts like. This is the law of resonance. You are the first tuning fork. The universe is the room full of all potential realities. The frequency you broadcast with your state of being will, by law, call forth and activate experiences, people, and circumstances that are an exact vibrational match. The universe does not give you what you want. It does not give you what you deserve. It gives you a perfect reflection of who you are being. And this reveals the fatal flaw, the tragic misunderstanding that causes so many people to fail with this law and dismiss it as nonsense. That flaw is the very act of wanting. What is the true feeling? The energetic signature of wanting something desperately. When you are pleading with the universe, I want more money. What is the feeling beneath the words? It is the piercing, painful feeling of lack. When you cry out, I want to find love, what is the vibration you are broadcasting? It is the heavy, desolate frequency of loneliness. When you affirm, I want to be healthy, you are often doing so from a state of profound awareness of your own sickness. The universe is not a genie that responds to your verbal commands. It is a vast, impersonal mirror that responds to your energetic broadcast. When you are broadcasting the frequency of lack, the universe, according to the law of resonance, can only bring you more situations that confirm and amplify the feeling of lack. When you broadcast loneliness, you attract more experiences that make you feel lonely. This is the cosmic trap. It is the reason why affirmations can feel so hollow, and why vision boards can become monuments to your own frustration. You are shouting for abundance with your words, while screaming lack with your soul. This is perfectly illustrated in the heartbreaking search for love. A person feels a deep sense of unworthiness, a core belief that they are not lovable. From this place of inner emptiness, they seek a partner to fill the void. They go on dates broadcasting a powerful subconscious signal of neediness and desperation. Their frequency says, "Please, validate me. Please, prove to me that I am enough." And who does this frequency attract? It cannot attract a whole, self-loving, and secure individual, because that person is on a completely different wavelength. Instead, it resonates perfectly with someone who is emotionally unavailable, someone who is critical, or someone who will abandon them, thereby perfectly confirming their original, painful belief that they are, in fact, unworthy of love. The law worked perfectly. It brought them an exact match for their state of being, and so the painful cycle continues, all while the person wonders why they keep attracting the wrong people. The only way to break this cycle, the only way to consciously work with this law, is to make the most important shift of your entire life. You must move your focus from wanting to be. You must stop chasing a future outcome and start cultivating the state of being of that outcome, here and now. The secret is not to just visualize what you desire, but to generate the feeling of already having it. This is the real work of creation. It is an internal, alchemical process. You don't just picture a loving relationship. You close your eyes and generate the feelings of being cherished, safe, adored, and completely worthy of love. Right now, by yourself. For yourself, you don't just visualize financial abundance, you cultivate the feelings of security, freedom, ease, and generosity in your present moment. You feel the relief. You feel the gratitude. You are striking the tuning fork of your desired reality first. Even when your external circumstances show you the opposite, you are broadcasting the signal from a place of fullness, not from a place of lack. You are becoming the cause, not waiting for an effect. This brings us full circle, back to the feeling of emptiness that began our journey. That feeling of emptiness is a state of being. It is a powerful frequency that you are broadcasting, and as long as you broadcast emptiness, the universe will faithfully deliver more experiences that resonate with emptiness, hollow achievements, superficial relationships, and a persistent sense of meaninglessness. The way out is not to acquire one more thing from the outside world to try and fill the void. The way out is to dare to change your frequency from within. It is to dare to feel whole before you are fixed. It is to dare to feel abundant when your bank account is low. It is to dare to feel loved when you are alone. This, of course, raises the most practical and pressing question of all. How exactly do you do that? How do you genuinely shift your vibration? Especially when you are feeling trapped in a low-frequency state. How do you learn to play a new song on the instrument of your soul? We have arrived at the heart of the matter. The great, practical question upon which all this cosmic exploration depends. How do you do it? How do you consciously change your state of being? Especially when the gravity of your current reality feels so heavy. How do you play the song of abundance when all you can hear is the music of lack? It is one thing to understand the law of resonance intellectually. It is another entirely to embody it, to become a living, breathing, tuning fork for joy, peace, and love. Particularly when you are feeling the opposite. This is not about spiritual bypassing, about pretending you are happy when you are sad. This is about learning the sacred art of vibrational alchemy. It is about understanding that your emotional and energetic state is not something that happens to you, but something you can consciously and deliberately cultivate. This is a skill, and like any skill, it requires knowledge, tools, and practice. To begin, we need a map, a way to understand the very landscape of human consciousness and emotion. Such a map was created by the physician and consciousness researcher, Dr. David Hawkins. Through decades of research, he created what he called the map of consciousness, a logarithmic scale that calibrates the energetic frequency of different levels of awareness. At the very bottom of this scale are the most dense, life-depleting energies, the frequencies of separation and ego. There is shame, which calibrates at an energy level of 20, a frequency just one step above death. Above that are guilt, apathy, grief, and fear at 100. Then come desire, anger, and pride. These are the frequencies of contraction. When you are in these states, your energy field is literally shrinking, your perception is narrowing, and you are broadcasting a signal of pain to the universe. Then, at the level of 200, something miraculous happens. We reach the frequency of courage. This is the critical tipping point. The first energy of empowerment. It is the courage to look at your own shadows. The courage to take responsibility for your state. The courage to believe that change is possible. Above courage, the frequencies become increasingly expansive and life-affirming. There is neutrality, willingness, acceptance, and reason. And then we enter the truly high states, love at 500, joy at 540, peace at 600, and finally, enlightenment. The jump between these levels is not linear, it is exponential. The difference in power between a person operating from fear and a person operating from love is astronomical. This map is not a tool for judging yourself or others. It is a diagnostic tool, a spiritual GPS. It allows you to ask, with compassionate honesty, where am I right now? And it shows you the direction you need to move. So, how do we climb this ladder? How do we transmute the dense energies of fear and shame into the light-filled frequencies of love and joy? This is where we open our toolkit. These are the practical arts of raising your vibration. The first, and arguably the most powerful tool, is gratitude. Gratitude is the master key of vibrational shifting. It is impossible to feel genuine gratitude and the feeling of lack at the same time. They are mutually exclusive frequencies. The practice is simple, yet its effects are profound. Right now, pause and think of 3 things you are genuinely grateful for. They don't have to be big. It could be the warmth of the sun on your skin, a kind word someone said to you, the taste of your morning coffee, the simple fact that you are breathing. As you bring these to mind, don't just think the words. Feel the gratitude in your body. Feel it in your heart. This simple act instantly shifts your focus from what is missing in your life to the abundance that is already present. It is the fastest way to move from the frequency of lack to the frequency of fullness. The second tool is the conscious cultivation of love, kindness, and compassion. Love is not merely a romantic sentiment. It is the fundamental frequency of the universe. It is the energy of connection, of coherence, of seeing the self in the other. Practice sending loving energy from your heart. Think of someone you care about deeply, and imagine sending them a wave of love and well wishes. Then, dare to turn that energy inward, upon yourself. Place a hand over your heart and send that same loving kindness to your own being, forgiving your own perceived flaws and honoring your own journey. A third powerful tool is forgiveness. Holding on to resentment, anger, and blame is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to get sick. It is a dense, heavy, low-frequency energy that you choose to carry in your own field. Forgiveness is not about condoning what happened. It is an act of radical self-liberation. It is you making the conscious choice to cut the energetic cord, to put down the heavy rock, and to set yourself free from the prison of the past. we must also remember our connection to the greatest vibrational battery available to us, the Earth itself. Nature is a vast reservoir of pure, coherent, high-frequency energy. Walking barefoot on the grass, a practice known as earthing, allows your body to absorb the natural, healing frequencies of the planet. The fractal patterns in a fern, the sacred geometry of a sunflower, the sound of ocean waves, the clean air of a forest, all of these have a direct, harmonizing effect on our chaotic inner state. They tune us back to the rhythm of life. And just as nature can tune us, so can sound, since we are vibrational beings. Sound is one of the most direct ways to alter our frequency. Listening to high-frequency music, like certain classical compositions, solfeggio frequencies, or sacred chants, can literally bathe your cells in a new vibration, helping to dissolve energetic blockages and elevate your consciousness. Beyond these active practices, we must also consider our energetic diet. You are not just what you eat. You are what you consume on every level. Consider the food you put in your body. Living, whole foods, grown in the sun and soil, have a high vibration. Processed, chemical-laden, dead foods have a low vibration. But even more important in our modern world is your information diet. What are you feeding your mind? Are you constantly consuming a stream of fear, outrage, and division from the news and social media? Or are you consciously choosing to consume content that is inspiring, uplifting, and expansive? Every article you read, every video you watch, is either raising or lowering your frequency. And finally, consider your social diet. The people you spend time with have a direct and powerful impact on your energetic field. Some people are radiators. They are full of joy and positivity, and you feel uplifted in their presence. Others are drains. They are steeped in negativity and complaint, and you feel depleted after being with them. Choose your company as carefully as you choose your food. This brings us to a timeless piece of wisdom, a Cherokee parable of the two wolves. An elder tells his grandson that a great fight is going on inside him. A fight between two wolves. One wolf is darkness and despair. It is anger, envy, guilt, resentment, and ego. The other wolf is light and hope. It is joy, peace, love, kindness, and compassion. The grandson asks, "Grandfather, which wolf will win?" The old man replies simply, "The one you feed, every moment of every day." You are making a choice. With every complaint, you feed the dark wolf. With every moment of gratitude, you feed the wolf of light. Raising your vibration is not a one-time event. It is the daily, moment-to-moment practice of learning to feed the right wolf. It is the sacred art of tending to the garden of your own energy. You now have the map of consciousness, and you have the tools to begin your ascent. You know how to cultivate a high-frequency state, but once you have generated this powerful energy, what do you do with it? High energy without direction is like a powerful flood. To create, you must channel that power. You must focus it like a laser beam. This is the art of intention. We have learned to tend to the garden of our inner world, to cultivate the high and harmonious frequencies of gratitude, love, and peace. We have become a powerful broadcasting tower, capable of sending a clear, high-frequency signal into the quantum field of the universe. But a broadcast that plays in all directions at once is diffuse, a lighthouse that shines its beam everywhere equally, guides no specific ship to shore. To move from simply being a beacon of light to becoming a conscious creator of your reality, you must learn to focus that light. You must learn to gather your powerful, high-frequency energy and aim it like a laser beam. This is the sacred and practical art of intention. It is the skill of directing the flow of creation through the power of your own focused consciousness. To begin, we must make a crucial distinction that will liberate you from the core paradigm of the achievement society. We must understand the profound difference between a goal and an intention. Our modern world is obsessed with goals. A goal is a destination in the future. I will earn a six-figure salary. I will buy a house. I will find a partner. While goals can provide direction, they are fraught with an energetic trap. By placing the object of your desire in the future, you are, by definition, affirming that you do not have it now. This can subtly reinforce the very frequency of lack and striving that we are working to overcome. It keeps you in a state of perpetually chasing a horizon where your happiness is always contingent upon a future event. An intention, however, is something else entirely. An intention is not a future destination. It is a present moment quality of being. It is a conscious declaration of how you choose to show up on the journey. Right now, let's compare. A goal might be, my goal is to win this negotiation. This is focused on a future outcome and breeds anxiety and attachment. An intention would be, my intention for this negotiation is to remain centered in my power, to listen with compassion, to speak my truth with clarity, and to co-create an outcome that serves the highest good of all involved. Can you feel the difference? The intention is about the quality of your energy and your presence in the now. It is something you have complete control over. A powerful, embodied intention, lived out in the present moment, will naturally and gracefully lead to the achievement of your desired outcomes. But it does so without the desperate, grasping energy. You find your power and your fulfillment in the way you walk the path, not in waiting for the destination. The mechanics of a clearly set intention are profound. It acts as a powerful command to all levels of your being and to the universe at large. Think of it as programming a destination into a cosmic GPS. Before you set out on a journey, you tell the system where you want to go. An intention is the act of programming your energetic destination. Once the intention is set, your subconscious mind goes to work. A part of your brain called the reticular activating system, which filters a vast majority of sensory information out of your conscious awareness, will now begin to highlight opportunities, people, and resources that are aligned with your stated intention, things you would have completely missed otherwise. At the same time, according to the law of resonance, the universe itself begins to arrange circumstances and orchestrate events that match the frequency of your focused intent. You can practice this every single day. Upon waking, before you are swept away by the demands of the day, take a moment to set your intention. My intention today is to move with a sense of ease and grace. Or my intention today is to find moments of beauty and connection. This simple act transforms you from being a passive recipient of the day's events to being the conscious, energetic author of your experience. This focused intention is then amplified exponentially through the practice of visualization. But this is not the idle daydreaming we are used to. This is a focused, disciplined act of energetic architecture. When you visualize correctly, you are creating a detailed, holographic blueprint of your desired reality within the quantum field of infinite potential. You are building it in spirit before it is ever built in stone. The key to powerful visualization is not just to see the image, but to embody the feeling of its fulfillment. If your intention is to create a loving partnership, don't just see a faceless person. Close your eyes and feel the sensation of a hand holding yours. Feel the warmth and safety in your heart of being deeply seen and understood. Generate the emotions of love, gratitude, and joy as if the experience is happening right now. This emotional charge is what magnetizes the experience to you. You are creating a powerful energetic attractor, a clear template in the field. You are sending out a signal so coherent and so complete that the universe has no choice but to begin organizing itself around this new, dominant reality. You are broadcasting. Here we arrive at the final, crucial element of this creative process, the sacred marriage of the masculine and feminine energies within you. Setting a clear intention and performing a focused, feeling-based visualization is the active, projective, masculine aspect of creation. It is the act of aiming the bow, of drawing back the string, of sending the arrow of your desire out into the world with purpose and direction. This is the part that requires effort and focus, but once the arrow is released, the second and equally important phase begins. This is the feminine aspect of creation: surrender, trust, and allowing. Once you have sent your intention out into the field, you must let it go. You must release your attachment to a specific outcome, to a specific timeline, and to a specific way in which it must manifest. You cannot chase after the arrow and try to steer it in midair. This is the most difficult part for those of us conditioned by the achievement society, which tells us we must always be pushing, controlling, and forcing things to happen. Surrender feels like giving up, but in spiritual dynamics, surrender is an act of profound power. It is you demonstrating your absolute trust that the universe, a mind infinitely more vast and intelligent than your own, has received your request and is now handling the details. There is a story of a master archer preparing for a competition. His student watches as he goes through his ritual. He does not simply nock the arrow and aims. He closes his eyes. He breathes. He enters a state of deep communion. For a moment, he ceases to be a separate self. He becomes one with the bow, one with the arrow, one with the subtle currents of the wind, and one with the distant target. There is an intense, unwavering focus, the masculine principle. Then, with a breath, he releases the string, and as the arrow flies, his body relaxes completely. He smiles, already knowing the outcome. He has done his part. The rest is up to the laws of the universe. This is the sacred balance we must learn, to intend with the fierce focus of a master archer, and then to release with the complete trust of a sage. When you master this process, when you combine high-frequency energy with a clear, focused intention, and release it with absolute trust, the universe begins to respond in magical ways. It begins to send you signals, to leave you clues, to arrange meetings and events with an uncanny and meaningful precision. It begins to wink at you. This is the birth of synchronicity, the language of a universe that is answering your call. You have learned to become the spiritual archer. You have quieted your mind, gathered your energy into a state of high-frequency coherence, and with the focused power of your intention, you have released your arrow into the vast quantum field of potential. You have done your part. You have sent the signal, and now you enter a new phase of the creative process, a phase of active listening, of watchful awareness. For the universe is not a dead void that silently receives your requests. It is a living, conscious intelligence that is in a constant dialogue with you. Once you begin to broadcast a clear, coherent signal, it begins to broadcast back. But it does not typically speak in a booming voice from the clouds. It speaks in a language of whispers, of echoes, of uncanny timing. It speaks in the language of meaningful coincidence. It speaks the language of synchronicity. The term was brought into our modern vocabulary by the brilliant Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung, a man who dared to explore the mystical and irrational depths of the human psyche. Jung was fascinated by events that seemed to be connected not by a linear chain of cause and effect, but by their shared meaning. He defined synchronicity as an acausal connecting principle. a meaningful bridge between a person's inner world, their thoughts, feelings, and dreams, and the outer world of physical events. A simple coincidence is random. You think of a song, and you hear it on the radio later that day. It's a curiosity, but a synchronicity has a different quality. It feels charged with significance, with a numinous, almost magical feeling of personal relevance. It feels like a message tailored specifically for you. Imagine you are agonizing over a decision to leave a job that is secure but soul-crushing. You are pleading with the universe for a sign, for some confirmation that taking the leap into the unknown is the right move. You walk out of your office, and a bird you've never seen before, a vibrant blue jay, lands on a branch right in front of you. At that exact moment, your phone vibrates. It's a text from a friend you haven't heard from in years. And it just says, "Thinking of you. Remember that crazy idea? You had to start your own business. You should do it." This is synchronicity. The timing, the layers of meaning, the direct answer to your inner question. It strikes you with the force of a revelation. It is the universe winking at you. Once you open your awareness to this phenomenon, you begin to see this language everywhere. It speaks in many dialects. One of its most common dialects is numbers. You may find yourself repeatedly seeing certain number sequences. You glance at the clock and it's 11:11. You see 222 or 333 on license plates. Your bill at a cafe comes to $4.44. In esoteric traditions, these are often called angel numbers, seen as codes or signals from your spiritual guides. 11. 11 is often interpreted as an awakening code, a sign that a gateway is opening and you are in alignment with your higher self. The universe also speaks through the medium of words. You may have a specific question weighing on your mind, and you overhear a snippet of a stranger's conversation that contains the exact answer you were looking for. You might open a book at random to a page that speaks directly to your dilemma. You might be driving, lost in thought about a problem, and a song comes on the radio whose lyrics feel as if they were written just for you. In that very moment, this cosmic dialogue also uses symbolic messengers. An animal may appear repeatedly in your life during a certain period. Seeing a spider might be a nudge to think about the webs of creativity and reality you are weaving. Seeing a hawk might be a call to rise above your current situation and see it from a higher perspective. The meaning is not fixed in a dictionary. It is determined by the personal significance that resonates within you. And perhaps most powerfully, the universe orchestrates human connections. Have you ever needed a very specific piece of information or a particular skill, and you randomly bump into the one person who has exactly what you need? Have you ever felt a sudden, illogical urge to go to a different coffee shop, only to meet a future business partner or the love of your life? This is the universe acting as the ultimate invisible networker, arranging encounters that your logical mind could never have planned. So why do some people seem to live in a world alive with this magic, while others experience only a cold, random reality? It is not because the universe is playing favorites. It is a matter of perception and receptivity. Firstly, you must be present to notice these subtle signs. As we learned, if you are constantly lost in the mental chatter of the past and future, you are blind and deaf to the delicate whispers of the now. You will walk right past the feather on your path. You will dismiss the repeated number sequence, because your awareness is simply not there to receive the message. Secondly, you must cultivate a belief in a living, intelligent universe. If your core belief system dictates that the world is a meaningless, random machine, then your perceptual filters will automatically dismiss any synchronicity as a mere coincidence. You will explain it away, because to accept it as meaningful would threaten your entire model of reality. But when you begin to entertain the possibility that you are in a dialogue, when you start to notice these events and acknowledge them, even with a simple inner "thank you," the dialogue deepens. The universe sees that you are listening, and so it begins to speak more clearly. The synchronicities become more frequent, more obvious, and more magical. You must then learn to trust these nudges. Think of synchronicities as a trail of cosmic breadcrumbs, left by your higher self to guide you along your optimal path. This path is rarely a straight line. Logic might tell you that the fastest way from A to B is a direct route, but a synchronicity might nudge you to take a strange detour, to call a person who seems irrelevant, to pursue a hobby that seems unproductive. Trusting these non-logical, intuitive hits is how you surrender to a wisdom far greater than your own. It is how you allow the universe's master plan to unfold, a plan that is infinitely more creative and magnificent than the limited one your ego could ever devise. Following the trail of synchronicities is the art of co-creation in its purest form. It is the dance of you taking an action, and the universe responding with a clue for your next step. When you live this way, life transforms. It ceases to be a struggle against a hostile or indifferent world. It becomes a thrilling adventure of discovery, a collaboration with a magical and benevolent partner. You are no longer alone. You are guided, supported, and constantly in communication with the cosmos. You have sent your intention, and now you have received the universe's reply. It's confirmation that it has heard you and is working with you. But this raises a new, important question. If these messages are intuitive, symbolic, and non-logical, what part of us is designed to perceive and understand them? It is clearly not the analytical brain, which is trained to be skeptical and demand rational proof. There is another, older, and far more powerful center of intelligence within the human body, an organ of perception that the ancients revered as the seat of the soul. It is the intelligence of the heart. We have seen how the universe communicates with us through the meaningful language of synchronicity, leaving a trail of cosmic breadcrumbs for us to follow. But this raises a vital question. What part of us is capable of reading this subtle, intuitive language? The logical mind, the analytical brain in our skull, is often the last to know. It is trained to be skeptical, to demand proof, to dissect experience rather than feel it. It would dismiss a synchronicity as a mere coincidence. No. To perceive the whispers of the cosmos, we must turn our attention to a different center of intelligence, an older and far more profound source of wisdom within us. For millennia, Poots, mystics, and sages have told us that the seat of true understanding, of courage, and of love resides not in the head, but in the heart. We say we must learn things by heart to truly know them. We speak of a heartfelt apology or a broken heart. We have always known, intuitively, that the heart is more than just a muscle that pumps blood. This was not just beautiful poetry. It was a deep, intuitive truth about the very nature of human consciousness. A truth that modern science is only now beginning to vindicate with stunning clarity. The heart is an organ of profound intelligence, and it is the true bridge between the world of spirit and the world of matter. For decades, pioneering researchers at institutions like the HeartMath Institute have been exploring the science behind this ancient wisdom, and their findings are revolutionary. They have discovered, for instance, that the heart contains its own complex and independent nervous system, a network of roughly 40,000 neurons that has been aptly named the little brain in the heart. This heart brain can learn, remember, feel, and make decisions independently of the brain in your head. In fact, the heart sends far more information up to the cranial brain through the nervous system than the brain sends down to the heart. This completely upends our traditional understanding of who is in charge. It suggests that it is the heart that is primarily informing our emotional landscape and our perception of reality, and the brain that often just follows its lead. Even more staggering is the discovery of the heart's immense energetic field using sensitive magnetometers. Scientists have found that the electromagnetic field produced by the heart is up to 5,000 times stronger and 60 times greater in amplitude than the field generated by the brain's electrical activity. This is not a subtle, insignificant field. It is a powerful torus of energy that radiates out from your body for several feet in all directions. And crucially, this field is not static. It is modulated by your emotions. When you experience feelings of stress, frustration, or anger, the rhythm of your heart becomes chaotic and incoherent, and your field broadcasts this discordant, chaotic information into the environment. But when you experience regenerative emotions like love, gratitude, or compassion, your heart rhythm instantly becomes smooth, audit, and coherent, broadcasting a powerful, harmonious signal. This is the science behind good vibes. You are a broadcasting tower, and your heart is the antenna, constantly sending out information about your inner state to the world around you. This is the energetic mechanism of the law of resonance. This reveals that we have two distinct but complementary ways of knowing. The intelligence of the head brain is linear, logical, and analytical. It functions by breaking things down into parts, by comparing, contrasting, and working with data from the past to make projections about the future. It is a magnificent tool, a supercomputer that is essential for navigating the complexities of the material world. But it has profound limitations. It can only work with what is already known, and it is fundamentally dualistic, seeing the world in terms of either or. The intelligence of the heart brain is entirely different. It is holistic, intuitive, and non-linear. It does not analyze, it knows. It does not think in a sequence, it perceives in a flash. It is the seat of empathy, the organ that can feel the vibe of a room or the unspoken truth in another person's words. It is the source of our moral compass, our courage, and our capacity for connection. It grasps paradox and sees wholeness, where the brain sees only division. Our modern society, with its relentless focus on data, metrics, and intellectual achievement, has taught us to worship the intelligence of the head and to ignore, or even distrust, the wisdom of the heart. The spiritual emptiness so many of us feel is the direct result of living a life disconnected from our true center of intelligence. The key to bridging this gap and restoring our inner balance is to learn how to consciously shift ourselves into a state known as heart coherence. This is a specific, measurable, high-performance state in which the rhythms of your heart, your brain, and your respiratory system become synchronized and harmonious. When you are in heart coherence, the body's systems operate at peak efficiency. Stress hormone levels drop, while levels of DHEA, the vitality hormone, increase. Your immune system gets stronger. Your cognitive function improves. And most importantly, your intuitive perception becomes crystal clear. This is the optimal state for connecting with your higher self. It is in this state of inner harmony that the whispers of synchronicity become loud and clear, and the guidance of the universe becomes unmistakable. You can learn to enter this state at will through a simple but powerful breathing technique. You can do it right now. First, shift your attention from your mind down into the area of your heart. You can place your hand over the center of your chest to help you focus. This is the heart focus step. Second, begin to imagine that your breath is flowing in and out through this heart-centered area. Breathe a little slower and deeper than you normally would. finding a comfortable rhythm, perhaps inhaling for 5 seconds and exhaling for 5 seconds. This is heart breathing. Finally, as you continue to breathe in and out through your heart, consciously activate a positive, regenerative feeling. The easiest way to do this is to think of someone you love unconditionally, a beloved pet, or a beautiful, peaceful place in nature. You can also simply focus on a feeling of deep gratitude or appreciation. Don't just think about the feeling. Really embody it. Allow the warmth and expansiveness of that emotion to fill your chest. This is the heart-feeling step. By practicing this for just a few minutes each day, you are retraining your nervous system, teaching it how to return to its natural state of coherence and balance. The ancient sages and mystics were right. Their timeless instruction to follow your heart was not a sentimental platitude. It was the most practical spiritual advice imaginable. Your analytical brain is like a map of the known world, an invaluable tool for navigating territory that has already been charted, but your heart is your true compass. It is the instrument that can guide you into the new, undiscovered country of your own highest potential. Learning to trust its quiet, unwavering signal over the loud, fearful, and contradictory shouting of the egoic mind is the master skill of a life lived with purpose, courage, and grace. We have now explored the primary tools for navigating the world of waking consciousness. But our journey into the self is not complete. A third of our lives is spent in another vast and mysterious territory, a realm where the logical mind sleeps and the soul is free to roam. It is time to venture into the world of dreams. We have spent our journey thus far exploring the hidden dynamics of the waking world, learning to tune our energy, focus our intention, and read the subtle language of the cosmos. But every single day, without fail, we perform an act of profound surrender. We let go of the world. We release our grip on the ego and its endless concerns, and we fall backward into a vast and mysterious realm, the world of sleep. We spend a third of our entire lives in this other country, a land with its own laws, its own landscapes, and its own secret language. And yet, our modern society has taught us to treat this nightly pilgrimage as little more than a biological necessity, a garbage disposal unit for the mind, dismissing the rich tapestry of our dreams as the random, meaningless misfirings of a resting brain. What if this dismissal is one of the greatest mistakes of our time? What if this nightly journey is not an escape from reality, but a journey into a reality that is deeper, more honest, and more connected to the truth of who we are? What if your dreams are not neural noise, but nightly reports from the very depths of your soul? For the vast majority of human history, this was not a question. It was an accepted truth. In ancient Egypt, dream interpreters, the masters of the secret things, were revered advisors to the pharaohs. In ancient Greece, the sick would make pilgrimages to the temples of Asclepius to undergo a ritual known as dream incubation, sleeping in a sacred space in the hope of receiving a divine dream that would reveal the cure for their ailment. For indigenous cultures across the globe, the dream time is not a lesser reality, but the primary reality, the spiritual source from which the physical world emerges. It was only in our recent, disenchanted history that we lost the ability to speak this ancient language. We came to believe that the only reality was the one we could measure and weigh, and so the rich, symbolic world of the soul was exiled to the realm of fantasy. To understand our dreams, we must unlearn this prejudice. We must approach them not as a scientist dissecting a specimen, but as a poet reading a verse, or a mystic interpreting an omen. The dream world is the native land of the soul, and it speaks in its native tongue the language of symbol, of metaphor, of raw, unfiltered emotion. It is the language of the heart, It is also important to understand that not all dreams are created equal. They arise from different levels of our consciousness and serve different purposes, ranging from the mundane to the profoundly sacred. On one end of the spectrum, we have processing dreams. These are the dreams where you find yourself reliving an awkward conversation from work, or trying to solve a problem that was on your mind before bed. This is your subconscious mind doing its necessary housekeeping, sorting and filing the experiences of the day. Much like a computer defragmenting its hard drive. While psychologically important, these dreams are on the shallower end of the pool. Deeper still are the symbolic and archetypal dreams. These are the dreams that feel different. They are often vivid, strangely lit, and carry a powerful emotional charge that can stay with you for days. In these dreams, you may encounter figures and landscapes that don't seem to belong to your personal life. A wise old woman who offers you cryptic advice. A terrifying shadow figure that pursues you. A majestic tree that seems to hold the wisdom of the ages. The psychologist Carl Jung believed these big dreams arise not just from our personal subconscious, but from the collective unconscious, a deeper layer of the psyche that contains the shared memories and symbols of all humanity. These dreams are direct communications from your higher self, offering profound guidance on your life's path. Then there are the more mysterious categories of dreams. There are precognitive dreams, in which you experience a fragment of an event that later comes to pass in the waking world. This is not fortune-telling. It is your deeper consciousness, which exists outside the constraints of linear time, perceiving a strong wave of probability and offering you a glimpse of a potential future. And there are visitation dreams. One of the most powerful and comforting experiences a person can have. In these dreams, a loved one who has passed away appears to you, not as a hazy memory, but as a vibrant, healthy, and autonomous being. These dreams are not typically filled with complex plots. They consist of a simple, loving encounter, a reassurance that they are okay, and a profound feeling of peace that transcends all grief. For those who experience them, they feel less like a dream and more like a genuine meeting of souls across the veil. Given this rich and varied landscape, how do we begin to listen? How do we learn to decode these nightly messages? The first and most critical step is to keep a dream journal. Place a notebook and pen by your bed. The very act of doing this sends a powerful message to your subconscious mind: I am listening. What you have to say is important to me. The moment you awaken, before you move a muscle, lie still and try to catch the tail of the dream as it dissolves. Write down everything you can remember, no matter how strange or nonsensical. Write down colors, feelings, fragments of conversation, locations. The act of writing builds a bridge between the dream world and the waking world, strengthening your recall over time. Second, when you review your dream, focus first on the feeling. The emotional tone is the most important clue. Did you feel joyful, terrified, confused, or at peace? The plot of the dream is the story, but the feeling is the message. Finally, begin to create your own personal symbol dictionary. While some symbols have archetypal meanings, their most important meaning is what they mean to you. If you dream of a snake, don't just look it up in a generic dream dictionary. Ask yourself, what does a snake represent to me for one person? It might be healing and transformation. For another, betrayal and fear. Dialogue with your dream symbols as if they were living parts of yourself. Ask the shadow figure, who are you? What do you want from me? The answers that arise from within you are the beginning of understanding. Your dreams are the most honest mirror you will ever look into. They are a direct, uncensored report on the state of your inner world. They reveal your hidden strengths, your deepest fears, your unfulfilled potentials, and the conflicts that need to be resolved. They are a diagnostic tool for the health of your soul. To ignore your dreams is to ignore the advice of your own wisest counsel. In the ancient story, the Pharaoh of Egypt had a disturbing dream of 7 fat cows being eaten by 7 skinny cows. He could have dismissed it as a meaningless nightmare, but he sought out an interpreter, Joseph, who understood the sacred language. Joseph revealed that the dream was a prophecy, a warning of 7 years of abundance to be followed by 7 years of famine. Because the dream was honored and understood, Egypt was able to prepare, and the nation was saved. Your dreams hold this same power for the inner nation of your own being. Honoring them is the first step toward wholeness. But what if you could do more than just interpret the dream after you wake up? What if you could become conscious within the dream itself and become an active participant in its unfolding drama? This is the extraordinary human potential known as lucid dreaming. We have learned to sit by the shores of our own inner ocean, to patiently wait for the nightly tides to bring us the strange and symbolic treasures of our dreams. We have learned that these are not random pieces of driftwood, but meaningful reports from the depths of our own being. We have become dream interpreters. But now, we must ask a question that challenges the very boundary between the passive and the active, between the observer and the creator. What if, instead of merely interpreting the dream upon waking, you could awaken within the dream itself? What if you could be tossed by the waves of a nightmare, and in that moment of terror, suddenly realize, this is not real, this is a dream. And in that realization, find the power to calm the storm with a single thought. This is not science fiction. This is a learnable skill, a documented human potential, and the next great frontier in our exploration of consciousness. This is the profound and liberating practice of lucid dreaming. To be lucid in a dream means simply this: to know that you are dreaming while you are still in the dream. It is the moment of awakening not from the dream, but within it. Imagine you are dreaming that you are being chased down a dark alley by a menacing figure. Your heart is pounding. Your breath is ragged. The fear is completely real. Then, a spark of awareness ignites. Perhaps you notice that you are running in slow motion, or that the alley walls seem to be made of melting wax. A thought arises, a thought of pure, crystalline clarity. Wait a minute. I'm dreaming. In that instant, everything changes. The fear evaporates, replaced by a surge of exhilarating power and boundless freedom. The menacing figure is no longer a threat, but a mere projection of your own mind. The dark alley is no longer a prison, but a canvas that you can repaint at will. This moment of becoming lucid is precisely analogous to the moment Neo in the Matrix realizes where he is. The rules of ordinary reality, the laws of gravity, of danger, of limitation, no longer apply. He can stop bullets because he knows, on a fundamental level, that the bullets are not real. When you are lucid in a dream, you are Neo in the matrix of your own mind. This realization transforms the dream world from a place of passive experience into the ultimate interactive playground, a spiritual training ground with near-infinite applications. One of the most immediate and powerful uses of lucid dreaming is the conquest of fear. If you suffer from recurring nightmares, becoming lucid is the key to liberation. When the monster appears, instead of running, you can turn and face it. You can ask it, "What do you represent? Why are you here?" You might find that the terrifying monster transforms into a frightened child, a part of your own psyche that needs healing and integration. You can literally embrace your demons, dissolving them with the light of your conscious awareness. This is the most profound form of therapy imaginable. The lucid dream state is also a perfect simulator for skill rehearsal. The neural pathways that fire when you perform an action in a vivid lucid dream are remarkably similar to those that fire when you perform the same action in waking life. An athlete can use a lucid dream to practice a perfect golf swing over and over again. A musician can compose a symphony, hearing it played by a full orchestra that appears at their command. A person with social anxiety can practice public speaking to a friendly and receptive dream audience, building confidence without any real-world risk. The potential for learning and mastery is limitless. And for the creative soul, the lucid dream is a direct portal to the source of inspiration. You can fly over cities made of crystal and light, walk through alien landscapes, ask the dream to show you a work of art that has never been seen before, or write poetry with ink made from starlight. It is a sandbox for the imagination, with no budget, no laws of physics, and no limits but your own. Perhaps the deepest application of lucid dreaming is in the realm of spiritual and psychological healing. Because the dream world is a direct manifestation of your subconscious, you can interact with your own psyche in a tangible way. You can set the intention to meet your inner child and give them the love and reassurance they never received. You can summon a figure that represents your shadow self, the parts of you that you have repressed or denied, and begin a dialogue of integration. You can stand on a dream mountain and shout a question into the void. Show me my life's purpose, and then watch as the dreamscape itself morphs and responds, offering you a symbolic, intuitive answer that bypasses the intellectual mind and speaks directly to your soul. This extraordinary ability is not a rare gift bestowed upon a chosen few. It is a natural human skill that can be cultivated with intention and practice. The first and most important step is the one we have already discussed: keeping a diligent dream journal. You cannot become conscious in a world you do not remember. The second step is to build a habit of questioning reality during your waking life. This is known as performing reality checks. Throughout your day, multiple times, pause and genuinely ask yourself, am I dreaming right now then? Perform a test. A popular one is to look at your hands. In dreams, hands often appear distorted, with the wrong number of fingers. Another is to try and push the index finger of your right hand through the palm of your left. In waking life, it will be solid. In a dream, it may pass through like a ghost. Another powerful check is to read a line of text. Look away for a moment, and then look back. In a dream, the words will almost certainly have changed or become nonsensical. By making this a consistent habit during the day, you will eventually perform a reality check out of habit while you are dreaming. This will trigger the aha moment of lucidity. Another powerful technique is to set a clear intention as you fall asleep. Repeat a mantra to yourself. A phrase like, "Tonight, I will recognize that I am dreaming." You are programming your mind to be on the lookout for the dream state. Lucid dreaming is far more than just a tool for entertainment. It is a profound spiritual practice. It is the art of carrying the candle of your waking awareness into the vast, mysterious, and often feared chambers of your own subconscious mind. It is about learning that you are the creator of your own inner worlds. And by extension, you are a co-creator of your outer one. It is a bridge between the conscious and subconscious, a space where you can become whole. And for some, this practice of becoming conscious while the body sleeps opens the door to an even more profound and enigmatic question. If you are aware and not identified with your physical body, and you know you are in a reality created by your own mind, is it then possible to project your consciousness beyond the confines of your own mind? Is it possible to use the lucid dream state as a launching pad to explore other two non-physical dimensions of reality? This is the blurry, fascinating boundary where the world of lucid dreaming meets the even more mysterious phenomenon of the out-of-body experience. or astral projection, we have learned to carry the light of awareness into the private theater of our own minds, to become the lucid creator of our own dreams. But what if that theater has a back door? What if the state of being conscious while the body sleeps is not the final destination, but a launch pad? What if it were possible to project your consciousness not just into a world of your own making, but beyond the confines of your own mind entirely, into other, real, non-physical dimensions of existence? This is the point where our journey takes us to the very edge of human experience, to a phenomenon that has been whispered about in mystery schools and shamanic traditions for millennia. It is the experience of the soul leaving the body. It is the sensation of pure awareness, floating free, looking down upon your own sleeping form, untethered and unbound. This is the enigmatic world of the out-of-body experience, and its more intentional cousin, astral projection. This is not a New Age invention. The knowledge that consciousness is not permanently fused to the physical body is a core tenet of countless ancient traditions. The ancient Egyptians spoke of the Ba, the soul aspect depicted as a human-headed bird, which had the ability to fly free from the physical body to travel in the afterworld. The yogis and rishis of India meticulously mapped the various subtle bodies, or koshas, that surround and interpenetrate our physical form, and developed meditative practices, or siddhas, that could lead to the conscious projection of this subtle self. Shamans from Siberia to the Amazon have, for thousands of years, entered deep trance states to allow their spirit to journey into other realms, to retrieve lost knowledge, to communicate with ancestors, and to perform acts of healing. And even in our modern world, it is a surprisingly common, spontaneous human experience. A significant percentage of the population reports having had at least one out-of-body experience, often during a moment of intense physical trauma like a car accident, a surgical operation, or sometimes during a moment of profound relaxation just before falling asleep. It is crucial, however, to distinguish this phenomenon from a lucid dream, though the two are closely related and can often bleed into one another. A lucid dream, as we have seen, is becoming aware that you are in a reality created by your own mind. It is a world that is infinitely malleable to your thoughts. If you want to be on a tropical beach, you can turn a snowy mountain into a beach with a single, focused thought, an out-of-body experience, or a journey into what is often called the astral plane. Feels different. Those who have experienced both report that the astral realm feels more objective, more stable, and more like a pre-existing place that you are visiting, rather than a world you are creating from scratch. But the most significant difference is often in how the experience begins and what you perceive. A lucid dream usually starts with you already inside a dream narrative. An out-of-body experience, on the other hand, is often preceded by distinct physical sensations, a feeling of intense, full-body vibration, a loud buzzing or rushing sound in the ears, or a sensation of rocking, floating, or slowly rolling out of your physical form. And the classic, definitive hallmark of a true OBE is the moment you turn around and see your own physical body lying peacefully on the bed. This single perception is a profound, identity-shattering moment. It is the irrefutable, experiential knowledge that I, the center of my awareness, am here, and my body is over there. I am not my body. So what is this astral plane that explorers of consciousness have described for centuries? It is not a single location, but a vast spectrum of non-physical dimensions that coexist with our own, interpenetrating our physical reality. It is a world built not of dense matter, but of thought and emotion. Its landscapes are shaped by the collective consciousness of humanity, Much like the map of consciousness, the astral plane is said to have many different layers or subplanes, each with its own distinct vibrational quality. The lower astral realms are closer in frequency to the dense, negative emotions of the physical world. They can be murky, confusing, and sometimes frightening places, populated by the thought forms of fear, anger, and unresolved trauma. This is the realm where nightmares can seem to have a life of their own. But as one's consciousness rises in vibration, one can access the mid to higher astral planes. These are reported to be realms of breathtaking beauty, of cities of light, of landscapes made from pure music, and of profound love and peace. It is here that one might encounter wise spiritual guides, communicate telepathically with other souls, or access vast libraries of knowledge. In the astral realm, thought is action. To think of a place is to be instantly transported there. To feel fear is to potentially attract fearful entities or environments. Your state of being is your vehicle and your compass. Given the nature of this realm, the practice of intentional astral projection must be approached with reverence and responsibility. While the methods for inducing an OBE often grow out of lucid dreaming practices or deep meditation, the most important element is not the technique, but the intention. The common fear among beginners is that they might get lost or be unable to return to their body. Esoteric traditions universally teach that this is impossible. As the subtle body is connected to the physical body by a silver cord of life energy that cannot be broken, the real precaution is energetic. As we have learned, like attracts like, to attempt to project from a state of fear or for egotistical purposes is to tune your dial to the lower astral frequencies. The key to a safe and enlightening journey is to prepare yourself by raising your vibration before any attempt. It is wise to enter a state of heart coherence, to fill yourself with the feeling of love, and to set a clear and sacred intention for your journey, such as, my intention is to explore the higher realms for the purpose of learning and growth, and I call upon my highest guides for protection and assistance. This surrounds you in a shield of high-frequency light, ensuring that you resonate only with realms of similar vibration. Pioneers like Robert Monroe, a pragmatic American businessman, did not approach this as a mystic, but as a systematic explorer. He had spontaneous out-of-body experiences and decided to meticulously document, map, and study them, eventually founding an entire institute dedicated to the research of human consciousness. His work, and the work of countless others, points to a single, shattering conclusion that is the core implication of the out-of-body experience. If your consciousness, the very essence of you, can exist and perceive reality completely independent of your physical brain and body, then you are not your body. You are not a biological machine that produces consciousness. You are a being of consciousness that is temporarily inhabiting a biological machine. This singular realization, born not from belief but from direct experience, forces us to ask the most fundamental question of all. If I am not my body, and I am not my mind, then what exactly am I? What is this eternal, perceiving self, and where did it come from? Before this life began, this question is the gateway to understanding the grand, epic journey of the soul itself. The out-of-body experience delivers a singular, seismic shock to our understanding of the self. The experiential knowledge that I am not my body is the great liberation, the key that unlocks the prison of materialism, but it immediately opens onto a vast and dizzying vista, presenting us with the most fundamental question of all. If I am not my body, not my brain, not my name, then what am I? The answer whispered down to us through all the great spiritual traditions is as simple as it is profound. You are a soul. You are an immortal, indestructible, an ancient stream of consciousness, a point of light and awareness on a journey of immense and epic proportions. The life you are living right now, which feels so all-encompassing, is but a single, fleeting chapter in a book that spans millennia. The framework for this grand novel of the self, the operating system for the soul's evolution, is the concept of reincarnation. Now, we must immediately release the old, fearful interpretations of this idea. For many, reincarnation has been tied to a punitive version of karma, a system of cosmic retribution where your current suffering is a punishment for sins you committed in a past you cannot remember. This is a disempowering view that breeds guilt and fatalism. Let us instead look at this through a more empowering and loving lens. A perspective shared by many modern spiritual teachings and corroborated by a fascinating body of research. In this model, Earth is not a prison or a place of punishment. Earth is a school. It is a challenging, high-stakes, and incredibly effective university for souls. We are not sent here against our will. We choose to enroll. We choose to incarnate into the density and duality of the physical plane because it offers opportunities for growth that are simply unavailable in the more harmonious, peaceful, non-physical realms. It is easy to be peaceful in a world of peace, but to find peace amidst chaos, to show compassion in the face of cruelty, and to forgive in the face of betrayal. These are the advanced lessons. Physical reality is a divine gymnasium, a place where our spiritual muscles can be tested and strengthened. Your current life is a specific, masterfully designed curriculum that you, as a soul, have chosen for yourself. This raises the question of when and how such a choice is made. In recent decades, the work of pioneering hypnotherapists like Dr. Michael Newton, author of Journey of Souls, and Dr. Ryan Weiss, author of Many Lives, Many Masters, has offered a fascinating glimpse into this process. By guiding thousands of individuals into a superconscious state beyond their current life personality, they have independently mapped a consistent and detailed picture of the life between lives. According to these extensive case studies, after a physical life ends, the soul returns to a realm of unconditional love, light, and healing. Here, it is greeted by its spiritual guides and members of its soul group, a cluster of familiar souls with whom it often incarnates. The soul then participates in a compassionate life review, where it re-experiences the key moments of its past life, not with judgment, but for the purpose of understanding. Crucially, the soul experiences its actions from the perspective of the other people involved, feeling the joy it created and the pain it caused. This is how karma is truly understood, not as punishment, but as an experiential lesson in the interconnectedness of all beings. Following this review, and with the loving counsel of wise master guides, the soul itself begins to plan its next incarnation. It chooses the lessons it wants to learn, the karmic patterns it wants to balance, and the specific circumstances including the body, the family, and the major life challenges that will provide the perfect opportunity to learn those lessons. This is where we encounter one of the most profound and healing concepts in all of spirituality, the soul contract. Before we incarnate, we make sacred agreements with other souls, often from our own soul group, to help each other learn our chosen lessons. We agree to play specific roles in each other's lives, and sometimes these roles are incredibly difficult. Imagine two souls who in the spirit realm are the dearest of friends, planning their next lives. One soul says to the other, "In my next incarnation, the primary lesson I must master is unconditional forgiveness. It is the final barrier to my own wholeness. The other soul, out of an act of immense and almost incomprehensible love, might reply, "Then I will help you. I will volunteer to incarnate as the person who betrays you, who hurts you more deeply than anyone else, to provide you with the perfect, most powerful opportunity to finally master forgiveness from the depths of your being." The staggering implication of this idea is that the person who has caused you the most pain in this life, the abusive parent, the unfaithful partner, the business rival who destroyed you, may not be your enemy, but may in fact be your greatest spiritual ally, a brave soul who agreed to take on a difficult, thankless, and karmic-heavy role for the sole purpose of helping your soul evolve. Suddenly, the cast of your life is recontextualized. Your greatest adversaries may be your dearest friends in disguise. This single shift in perspective has the power to change everything. It moves you from a state of victimhood to a state of profound empowerment. You are no longer a helpless victim of a random, cruel world. You are a brave and ancient soul who volunteered for your specific set of circumstances. That difficult relationship, that chronic illness, that financial struggle, that painful childhood, these are not cosmic accidents. They are the courses you signed up for in Earth School. This does not invalidate the pain. The pain is real, and it is part of the learning process. But it infuses that pain with a deep and unshakable sense of purpose. The question is no longer, "Why is this happening to me?" The question becomes, "What did my soul intend for me to learn from this?" In asking that new question, you reclaim your power. You cease to be the effect, and you become the cause. You see your life not as a sentence to be endured, but as an assignment to be mastered. So we see that we are not fragile, one-time beings, but eternal souls on a magnificent journey of becoming. We are bravely enrolled, life after life, in this challenging and beautiful school called Earth, crafting our own curriculum, supported by a cast of souls who have agreed to play their parts in our personal drama, all for the sake of growth, of balancing karma, and of returning, step by step, to a fuller realization of the divine light that we are. But this raises one final, comforting question. If we undertake these challenging lives, if we make these difficult contracts, are we sent into this school alone? Or is there a support system in place? A team of spiritual helpers to guide us along the way. Who are these guides that help us plan our lives? And what is the role of our own fully realized higher self in this grand and sacred play? We have journeyed to the staggering realization that we are eternal souls, bravely choosing our life circumstances as part of a grand curriculum for growth. We have seen how our most painful challenges and most difficult relationships may be sacred contracts, designed by our own higher wisdom for the sake of our evolution. But this realization, while empowering, can also feel daunting. To think that we would choose such profound struggles for ourselves raises a crucial and comforting question. Would a wise and loving soul truly send itself into the dense and often confusing school of Earth completely alone? Would we be left to navigate these intricate and challenging lessons without a map, without a mentor, without any support? The answer, which resonates from the heart of every great spiritual tradition, is a clear and resounding no. You are not alone. You have never been alone. From the moment you chose this life to the moment you will eventually return home, you have been surrounded, supported, and guided by a team of unseen, benevolent, and profoundly loving spiritual helpers. The veil between your world and theirs is woven only of your own disbelief. Once you learn to quiet your mind and open your heart, you will begin to feel their constant, reassuring presence. The first and most intimate member of this spiritual support team is your own higher self. This is not an external being you pray to. It is the totality of you. Imagine your consciousness as a great and brilliant sun, existing eternally in the realms of pure spirit, outside of time and space. The person you know as you in this lifetime is a single, focused sunbeam of that great sun, projected into the physical world to have a specific experience. That sunbeam is not separate from the sun. It is a direct extension of the sun, and it is always connected to its source. Your higher self is that sun. It is the fully awakened, fully realized, whole and complete version of you, the part of you that has never forgotten its own divinity. It is the master architect of your life's journey. The consciousness that co-created your soul contracts with other souls before this life began. It holds the master blueprint and understands the why behind your greatest struggles and your deepest joys. The quiet voice of your intuition, that gut feeling, that deep inner knowing that arises from a place beyond logic, that is the direct communication line to your higher self. It is your own ultimate wisdom speaking to you. Working in concert with your higher self are your spirit guides. These are non-physical beings who have a deep, loving, and personal interest in your soul's journey. Think of them as your spiritual mentors, your academic advisors for Earth School. They are often souls who have themselves completed many cycles of reincarnation on Earth and have graduated. They understand the challenges of being human, the fears, the heartbreaks, the confusions, with an intimate and compassionate empathy, because they have mastered the curriculum. They have volunteered to stay and help others who are still on the path. Unlike your higher self, they are typically distinct entities from you, but they are part of your eternal soul family. Their role is not to live your life for you or to protect you from the lessons you came here to learn. They operate under a strict code that honors your free will. They cannot intervene unless you ask for their help, but once you give them permission, their job is to guide you, to support you, and to help you stay on the path that your own higher self laid out. They are the ones who orchestrate the synchronicities, who place the right book in your path, who whisper an idea into your mind in a quiet moment, or who comfort your spirit when you are in despair. They are your unseen cheerleaders, your coaches, and your most devoted friends. Beyond your personal guides, there is another class of benevolent beings available to assist you: angels. In many spiritual traditions, angels are understood to be different from spirit guides. They are often described as pure beings of light, direct emanations or messengers from the divine source, who have never been human and have never been part of the cycle of reincarnation. Their energy is often more powerful and less personal than that of a guide. They are the guardians of universal laws and the bearers of specific divine qualities. The great archangels are like the department heads of the spiritual realm, overseeing vast domains of creation. You can call upon Archangel Michael, the warrior of light, for protection, courage, and the cutting of energetic cords to negative situations. You can call upon Archangel Raphael, the divine physician, for the healing of your body, mind, and spirit. You can call upon Archangel Gabriel, the divine messenger, for help with communication, creativity, and inspiration. And you can call upon many others. To call upon an angel is to invoke a powerful archetypal frequency from the universe, to ask for a concentrated dose of the specific divine quality you need in that moment. So how do you connect with this incredible support system that is waiting patiently for you to acknowledge its presence? It does not require complex rituals or ceremonies. The process is simple, heartfelt, and available to you at all times. The first and most important step is simply to ask. You must give your permission. This is the law of free will. A simple, sincere, and humble request, spoken aloud or in your heart, is all that is needed. Higher self, spirit guides, Anuts. I feel lost. Please help me. Please show me the clarity I need. I am open to your guidance. This invitation opens the door. The second step is to cultivate receptivity. Their guidance rarely comes as a booming voice. It comes through the subtle channels we have already explored. It comes as a gut feeling, a flash of intuition, a persistent idea that seems to come from nowhere. It comes in the symbolic language of your dreams. It comes through the meaningful coincidences and synchronicities that begin to appear in your life. This is why the practice of meditation and spending time in quiet contemplation is so important. It is not about an empty exercise. It is about creating the inner silence necessary to be able to hear their gentle whispers above the noise of your egoic mind. When you begin to live with this awareness, your experience of life fundamentally changes. You are the CEO of your journey, the incarnated self, working in perfect partnership with the wise and loving chairman of the board, your higher self. You have a team of brilliant and experienced consultants on call, your spirit guides, and a host of powerful specialists you can bring in for specific tasks, the angels. How could you ever feel truly lost or alone again in your moments of deepest despair? In your most painful struggles, in the darkest nights of your soul? Know this: you have never been alone. You have never been abandoned. You are surrounded by a team of magnificent beings of love and light, whose only purpose, whose only joy, is to see you succeed, to see you learn your lessons, and to see you remember the brilliant, divine being that you truly are. Knowing this, knowing you are a divine soul on a chosen journey with a powerful spiritual support team. How then are we meant to live this truth? How do we integrate this profound spiritual reality with the practical demands of paying our bills, raising our children, and navigating our material world? This is the final and most important challenge, the great integration. We have journeyed together across vast landscapes of consciousness. We have stood in the hollow halls of the Achievement Society and named the source of our modern emptiness. We have rediscovered the ancient truth that we are not physical machines, but luminous beings of energy and frequency. We have unearthed the lost maps of Hermetic sages and Gnostic rebels. We have traveled to the East to see our own truths reflected in the concepts of Maya and Atman. We have learned to quiet the mind, to listen to the heart, to speak the language of intention, and to read the universe's reply in the patterns of synchronicity. We have explored the inner worlds of dreams and traveled to the very edge of consciousness itself, realizing that we are not mortal beings, but immortal souls on a grand, self-chosen adventure, supported by a team of loving, spiritual guides. After such a journey, after touching these profound and expansive truths, a subtle danger can arise. It is the temptation to escape, the desire to abandon the messy, complicated, and often painful world of material reality, and simply float away into a state of spiritual bliss. But the ultimate purpose of this great journey is not escape, it is integration. The final and most difficult initiation is not to leave the world behind, but to fully arrive within it, to bring the boundless light of the heavens down into the very bones of our earthly existence. In the Buddhist tradition, there is the ideal of the bodhisattva. A bodhisattva is a being who has attained enlightenment and has earned the right to exit the cycle of suffering, to enter the eternal peace of nirvana. But out of a heart of immense and unconditional compassion, the bodhisattva voluntarily chooses to turn back from the gates of paradise, to reincarnate again and again into the world of struggle, vowing not to rest until every last being has also been brought to enlightenment. This is the ultimate spiritual calling. It is the understanding that our purpose is not just to save ourselves, but to serve the whole. Our goal is not to ascend out of the world, but to fully incarnate into it, to become a walking, living bridge between spirit and matter. This physical world, with all its density and duality, is not a mistake to be corrected or a prison to be fled. It is the canvas upon which we are meant to paint our masterpiece. It is the fertile soil in which our soul's seeds are meant to grow. Your physical life is the precious and necessary arena for your spirit's fullest expression. To live in this integrated way requires a complete demolition and rebuilding of our culture's definition of success. The Achievement Society taught us that success is an external game of accumulation, measured by our bank balance, our job title, our social status, and the number of possessions we can gather. It is a game that, as we have seen, ultimately leads to a feeling of profound emptiness, because it starves the soul. A truly integrated spiritual life requires a new scorecard. Success is no longer measured by what you have, but by who you are becoming. The new metrics are internal. Expansion of consciousness becomes a key performance indicator. Are you more patient, more loving, more compassionate, and more forgiving today than you were a year ago? Authentic expression becomes your measure of wealth. Are you courageously sharing the unique gifts and truths of your soul with the world? Or are you still wearing a mask, contorting yourself to fit in and be liked? And living with purpose becomes your bottom line. Do you feel a sense of meaning in your daily life? Do you feel that your existence, in its own unique way, is contributing to the healing and awakening of the whole? This new definition of success liberates you from the exhausting treadmill of comparison and the endless, hungry ghost of more. This integration is not an abstract philosophy. It is a practical, moment-to-moment way of life. It is about transforming the mundane into the sacred. Your work is no longer just a job. It becomes your dharma, your sacred service to the world. It doesn't matter if you are a street sweeper or a CEO, a teacher or a technician. You can infuse any action with presence, with integrity, with the intention to be of service and to create value. Your workplace ceases to be a battlefield of ego and becomes your monastery, the place where you practice your spirituality in real time. Your relationships are no longer just sources of pleasure or pain. They become your most powerful spiritual assignments. Every person in your life is a mirror. The people who trigger you, who push your buttons, are your greatest teachers, showing you with perfect precision which parts of your own psyche are unhealed and crying out for attention. The people you love are reflecting back to you your own capacity for divine connection. Every conversation, every interaction becomes an opportunity to practice compassion, to listen from the heart, and to see the Atman, the divine self, in the eyes of another. And your greatest challenge is illness, loss, heartbreak, failure are no longer viewed as random, cruel tragedies. They are recognized as the core curriculum of your soul. The very lessons you chose to master in this lifetime. You learn to meet them not with bitter resistance, but with a courageous and curious inquiry. What is the gift hidden within this pain? What is this experience trying to teach me? How can I use this to build the spiritual muscles of resilience, trust, and faith? There is a timeless allegory for this way of being: the lotus flower. The lotus has its roots deep in the dark, dense mud at the bottom of a pond. This is the material world, with all of its struggle, its chaos, and its attachments. The stem of the lotus must then push its way up through the murky, unclear water, representing the journey of consciousness through confusion and illusion. And then, finally, it emerges into the open air and the sunlight, blossoming into a flower of exquisite, pristine beauty. Its petals completely unstained by the mud from which it grew. The profound teaching of the lotus is that it needs the mud. Without the rich, dense, messy foundation, it could never achieve its glorious blossoming. We, too, need the mud of our human experience. We need our challenges, or heartbreaks, and our engagement with the material world to catalyze our spiritual growth. The art of living is to be like the lotus, to have our roots firmly planted in the earth, to be fully engaged with our lives, but to keep our consciousness, a blossoming flower, always open to the light of spirit, remaining pure and unstained by the turmoil around us. This is what the masters meant by being in the world, but not of the world. And so we arrive back where we began, with the echo in the hall of success, the feeling of emptiness. But now, we see it with new eyes and an open heart. The void is not filled by adding more achievements, more possessions, more external validation. It is filled from within. It is filled by infusing your entire life with meaning. It is filled by seeing the sacred in the ordinary, the lesson in the challenge, the divine purpose in the daily grind. This is the great integration. It is the end of the schizophrenic split between your spiritual life on the one hand and your real life on the other. There is only one life, and every single moment of it is sacred. Every breath is a prayer. Every challenge is a teacher. Every step is a pilgrimage. This is how you finally fill the void. Not with more success, but with more soul. We have traveled a long way together, on a journey that began in a feeling of profound and unsettling emptiness. We stood in the silent echo of our own success and diagnosed the spiritual sickness of an achievement society that had taught us to value doing over being. From that point of departure, we embarked on a great adventure of rediscovery. We remembered the ancient and scientific truth that our world is not made of dead things, but of living, vibrating energy. We unearthed the lost maps of sages and mystics, learning the timeless laws of consciousness that govern our reality. We learned to quiet the relentless noise of the mind and to hear the profound wisdom of the heart. We ventured into the mysterious landscapes of our dreams and beyond, to the very edge of consciousness, where we were met with the staggering realization that we are not mortal bodies, but immortal souls, on a purposeful, self-chosen journey, surrounded by a team of benevolent, unseen guides. And finally, we brought all of this cosmic wisdom back down to earth, learning to see our daily lives not as a mundane struggle, but as the sacred arena for our soul's great integration. And so we arrive at the central, liberating truth of this entire journey: the emptiness that you felt, the void that propelled you to seek for answers, was never a sign of your failure. It was not a hole to be filled with more money, more status, or more achievements. It was the echo of a sacred longing from your own soul, a homesickness for the truth of who you are. The antidote to the profound exhaustion of our modern world is not a better strategy for success. It is a revolution in consciousness. It is the radical shift from seeking your value in the relentless pursuit of what you can do and what you can have, to resting in the unshakable, infinite value of who you simply are. You are not a human being who, on rare occasions, has a spiritual experience. You are a magnificent, eternal, spiritual being having a temporary, precious, and challenging human experience. Your worth is not earned through performance. It is inherent in your very existence. This is not the end of your journey. It is the true beginning. You now have the maps. You now have the tools. You now have the understanding that you are the conscious creator of your reality, the artist of your life. Every moment, you are choosing your frequency. Every breath is an opportunity to come home to the present moment. Every challenge is an invitation from your soul to grow stronger, wiser, and more loving. The emptiness is gone, not because you have acquired anything new from the outside, but because you have finally connected with the infinite fullness that was always waiting for you within. You hold the power to live a life infused with meaning, purpose, and a deep connection to the cosmos. Step out into the world not as a person trying to prove their worth, but as a soul joyfully expressing its magnificence, your real work. And your greatest adventure begins now.